The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith and Lyric Swinton. On today's show, we'll review the new beginning in Osaka and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Chop Tea store, chop-tees.com/KI Strong Style. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style merchandise. There's free shipping on every order and 10% off your first order. That's chop-tees.com/KI Strong Style. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style for IWGP and Grade 1 subscribers this week. If you want access to the weekly live stream, ad-free audio, and bonus content, subscribe at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Lyric, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's been
we had discussed having you on all the way back. What was that? April of last year.
Yeah.
When you see us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find the right moment, but we had a monumentous show. Probably the best show since before the pandemic, and I was like, we gotta call in the big guns. We gotta call in a true professional. Lyric.
That actually means a lot to me because this show is so big, and so for you to ask me to do this one, actually means a lot. I really do. Thank you.
Well, yeah, we know, big fan of your work. We see what you do in the community. You're a big time content creator. You're all over the place, all kind of different sites. You have your own YouTube channel, and you're always a fun follow on X or Blue Sky. So yeah, happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And in tradition here, anytime we have a new guest on the show, we kind of get their background on New Japan and let them get their plugs in. So when did you start watching NJPW, Lyric?
Okay, so this is always a bad but good story. It turns out really good. So I started watching New Japan around actually 2022 because I was super depressed. So I couldn't do anything for months at a time. I was just sitting in a dark room, so I would just watch years worth of Japanese wrestling. I kid you not, every single day.
Wow.
G1s, a whole bunch of things. That was the only thing that got through to me. I was just, especially Shibata matches. That was what really connected with me. And so that was really how I got into it. And then Forbidden Door happened. And I was just oh my gosh, I just want to do this forever. So that's really how I got into it originally. But I was always aware of New Japan. I remember going to Hot Topic and seeing Bullet Club merch and stuff while I was in college. But yeah, that was my beginning.
Nice. I mean, you can't go wrong with kind of just diving in and just binge watching all the best wrestling.
Man, I think, especially on the old New Japan World format, I think it was a lot easier too. So it was a lot easier to just kind of I feel binge watch half the library all in 4 months.
Yeah. So who's your favorite NJPW wrestler?
Ideal.
Go ahead, Josh.
I don't know. I think we got a delay going on, but I was going to say I deal myself with depression as well. So, I could understand how it might be cathartic to watch Shibata bang other people's heads and his own head, and then just kind of
listen, man. I always tell
that kind of catharsis,
that Sakura Genesis match, like, legit probably saved my life, even though it almost ended his. And that's just, it's actually crazy. But to know that it all worked out is, everybody got what they wanted. It's so fun. It's so fun. But my favorite New Japan wrestler right now or all time, right now would probably be, I would say
both.
Yeah.
Okay. All time Shibata. Tie between Shibata and Kenny Omega. Like, Kenny Omega is like my favorite wrestler ever. But right now, Oiwa.
All right.
I have to go with Oiwa. I followed his entire Noah run, so I knew exactly what we were dealing with when he came back from excursion. Yeah, he's my guy. Like, I love that guy.
Yeah, Oiwa seems to be picking up a pretty big fan base. A lot of people love the Noah excursion. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of circling him to be, the guy that's going to take us to the promised land.
Oh, listen, he's my pick. I think that shot of him walking in the Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom, and that bomber jacket, like, from behind, very Jumbo Saruta-like almost. Like, I think he reminds me a lot of, like, that old school Puro style. He brings a lot of that, I would say, to his matches. The grip. I think he's awesome, man. And I think TMDK is the great place for him. And so I don't even think people realize we haven't even scratched the surface in New Japan yet of what he's about to do.
Yeah. And then your favorite New Japan match, it could be, recently or of all time, or something, in your binge watching that you really stood out to you.
Shibata Okada, Sakura Genesis. That's like my all time. But I would say over the past year, my match of the year last year was Bryan Zach New Beginning in Osaka. Yeah. That was my match of the year for 2024 overall.
Yeah, that was one of that's my top match in New Japan and one of my top overall. Yeah, that match was just so great, and that whole New Beginning in Osaka. I know people really praised this year's show, but I feel like people slept on last year's New Beginning in Osaka.
I don't even think that. I think that the thing about last year's show is that it was very bittersweet because it was really good, but all of those guys are either on their way out, or they were visitors in the first place, or, a lot of guys ended up getting injured. So you couldn't really watch that show and I think be super excited about the future of New Japan, versus this show was really good. And just about all of these guys, they're here for the long run. So you get to be excited about what they do next. So I think that's the difference between this year and last year's show,
Yeah, that's a good point.
If Shibata Okada is your favorite New Japan match, you might appreciate this bit of art that I have hanging on my wall. Oh, I don't know if I'll show. There it goes.
Oh my gosh, that's sick. Where did you get that?
So yeah, that was actually made by Chris Bryan, aka Chris Things. He's one of the hosts here on Social Suplex. He has his own wrestling and art show, and he's done a lot of illustrations for a variety of different projects. Way of the Blade with Phil Lyons, and a few other different stuff. But yeah, he sent me that print, and one of my favorite matches too. So,
oh yeah, I would love something like that. I need more wrestling art, real wrestling art, put up on the walls.
Yeah, Chris Things. It's a great place to go. He's a lot of great wrestling artwork on his website.
He's a great artist, but he also has a lot of different artists and curators that come onto his show and kind of expose people to what they're doing too. And there's a lot of people out there I didn't know about before what he did on this network. So
yeah,
that's so dope. I feel like for me, I used to grow up like a big posters person. So I used to always have, it's so funny. My childhood bedroom was Barbie pink and I hated it. So I was like the opposite of that. So I had WWE magazine and everything. So I would just take posters, and I plastered the wall, my side of the room, so much to where you couldn't even see any of the pink. I had so many wrestling posters up, but like, you know, as you get older, posters are childish and things like that. So like in my adulthood, I'm trying to transition. Like, you know, I want wrestling things on the wall, but you know, very classy, very demure. You know, just something. I already have like my figure collection now, so I'm like, I can't do posters too. It's like, it's overkill, you know? So I'm still working on trying to, like, you know, how am I going to do it?
Yeah.
Well, you go to Japan and you go to TotoCon and you find, you know, incredible posters there that are, you know, that transcend art.
I wasn't even thinking about posters when I went. I got signed T-shirts, and I'm talking about T-shirts. I didn't even realize I can't even fit them. Like I couldn't even fit. I got a signed Tanahashi shirt that I can't even fit. And then but I'm going to find a way, you know, but for next time I go to Japan. And then I got a signed Go Shiozaki shirt from like 3 eras ago of Noah. I think it still has like the old Noah logo on it. And so I wish I was thinking about posters at that time, but I was just like, I had an hour there, and I'm just like amazed. Like it's like Candyland.
Well, like, before we jump into the review here, go ahead and get your plugs in. Tell our listeners where they can find you online, any projects you got coming up.
Oh my gosh. So you can find me at Lyric Wrestling on Twitter and Instagram, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Lyric Swinton. I do have a few cool things coming up. I'll have a review of New Beginning Osaka and a New Japan Cup preview on my own YouTube channel. I got to sit down with Andrew Thompson from Pros Wrestling for that. And also I have some really fun interviews coming out. I can't say who it is yet, but I want to say that they are from All Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW. So a little bit of something for everybody. So I'm excited.
At least you're telling us where they're from instead of just giving us the eye emojis.
Oh my gosh, I hate when people do that. And then I'm not going to say that. That was going to be really rude. I was going to say something really rude of just like, you know, they'll be like, oh, big interview coming. And it's like from like the lowest level indie promotion you've never heard of. Brother.
It's the Brooklyn Brawler. And they don't want to say it. We did have a question from Swagamice. He says, can you ask Lyric, when we going to get some more of them podcasts?
I just answered your question. You'll get it this week. And honestly, you might get it. Well, I don't know when this is going to air. It actually might be out by the time this airs. So
yeah, this will air on Tuesday, tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah. So you'll get it either tomorrow or Wednesday. If I just need to actually edit it, but it's already been recorded. So there's the answer to your question. Thank you for supporting.
Nice. Well, let's jump in.
This will be out tomorrow unless you're an IWGP level tier subscriber and you're watching us right now live.
Yeah, or if you want to get,
I don't know if there's anyone out there.
The ad-free audio. I see somebody on the stream right now. But yeah, let's jump into the New Beginning in Osaka. So this was February 11th from the Edion Arena, Osaka. We had an attendance of 5,502. So compared to previous New Beginning in Osaka's last year, had 5,327. 2023 had 4,055. And 2019 had 5,570. So definitely up from the last couple of years and very close to that 2019 number. And I'm sure different building configurations probably was the difference there. But overall, good attendance here for New Beginning in Osaka.
Absolutely. I think like they only fell like 50 short of that 2019 number. And you think about the fact that they're doing that with no Okada, no Ospreay, no Jay White, no Naito. My fault. Yeah, you're great. Big Hikuleo, Tamatanga, and who can forget Tangaloa? I mean, I don't know how they pulled it off without him, but miracles happen every day, man.
No bloodline.
You know, one's up.
Yeah, you gotta respect the bloodline, man.
What happened to you, Jeremy?
I don't know. Mention the Hikuleo got me out.
Clearing his throat.
Hikuleo got me all choked up, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we miss him. But yeah, I mean, it probably had something to do with the configuration, like you mentioned, Jeremy, because they had continued to open up the seats and allow different configurations to keep expanding until they were like at a super no vacancy. So, you know, I don't know what accounting there is for why it's down from 2019, but it's fairly close to that peak, which is that's excellent.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the card here. So the show kicked off. We had United Empire's Francisco Akira and Jeff Cobb defeating El Desperado and Ketsuya Murashiyama in 8 minutes and 20 seconds.
I think this was your standard pre-show match. Nothing particularly special, but I have enjoyed Murashima on this tour. I enjoyed the match that he had with Tanahashi on this tour. I like seeing Akira, you know, back in the swing of things. It felt like a preview tag, obviously, for the 53rd anniversary show. And Jeff Cobb, you know, I think the most interesting thing from this show happened in like his post-match comments, saying like, you know, this might be his last time, you know, in that building. So I think that was probably the biggest takeaway out of that, you know, entire match. I'm excited to see, obviously, what Despy and Akira do at 53rd anniversary. It feels like finally a continuation of what we started in Best of the Super Junior 2 years ago between those two in that really good match. But yeah, those are my takeaways on that one.
Young boy, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought that they didn't wrestle so much as. Yeah, there's a delay, but what I was saying is that this to me came off a lot more like a main card tag as opposed to something that was on the pre-show. The way they worked it was like they were like in the third or fourth match of the evening, not the pre-show. And you know, I was totally expecting Murashima to take a tour of the islands, but that's not what happened here. You know, we saw Francesco Akira pick up the big 1-2-3 over Desperado, which is, you know, we've been seeing quite a bit of that this year, where unexpected pinfall victories in preview tag matches, which is a little rare for New Japan. They're doing it a little more often, and that's kind of nice. And to kind of see Francesco Akira pick up a meaningful win there, I thought that was significant. And how about, I know we keep talking about how gassed up this man looks, but you know, he's reminding me of, remember when Trunks went to his ascended status? Not Super Saiyan 2, but like this
Super Saiyan
like
1.5
pumped up version where, yeah, Super Saiyan 1.5, like he powered up, but he was too slow to hit fucking Cell. That's what Francesco Akira looks like to me. This man's puffed up to the max right now. Like, he looks awesome.
Was that a Dragon Ball Z reference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm learning. There you go.
Yeah, he looked super jacked, and yeah, it was good to see him get the win here, or get the upset over Desperado. And like you mentioned, Lyric, yeah, I think everybody's kind of asking what's next for Jeff Cobb, where he's going to go. I know there's rumors that he's AEW bound, but I don't know, might be working this.
You know what? And I hope he is. Don't get me wrong, I think he would do great in AEW. I have dream matches, but there are none of those things that he couldn't do from New Japan, in my opinion. I think he had a really great, strong run in 2024 in New Japan. I think that he carried United Empire after Will Ospreay left, and his TV title run was very solid. And when a lot of things were uncertain, I would feel, as far as the roster, he was probably one of the most dependable guys in New Japan for 2024 to have, like, you know, a good match. And so I would love to see him, you know, ascend to, you know, potentially winning that global heavyweight championship at some point. But I think he'll be great wherever he goes. One way or another, though, I do need my Samoa Joe match. I'm giving him you have three options. We can do this at Forbidden Door. If you want to sign with AEW, we could do this all in Texas. I think that that's a great stadium worthy meet match. Or we can do this, you know, next time we do Wrestle Dynasty. But I do need my Samoa Joe match. I need Hawaiian Jeffrey versus Samoan Joseph. I need that.
Yeah, I feel like Josh and I have been fancy booking Joe versus Cobb for like years now.
It's gonna happen. Listen, I feel like when two or more are gathered, that's church. And so I believe that, if we just keep telling everybody what we want, we're gonna get it one way or another. It's gonna happen. Yeah. It will happen. Goto won the world title this year. So really, anything can happen.
Anything's possible. Well, let's jump to the next matchup here. So the first match on the opening, on the main card here, we had Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating Togi Makabe in 9 minutes and 24 seconds. So this is all part of Tanahashi's final road, his retirement tour here, wrestling people that had some either like kind of kinship or a rival in his career. And also Makabe, one of his biggest rivals, especially early on in his career. So thoughts on this matchup?
I love what it stood for. I think that it was sentimental, and you could tell how much it meant to like both guys. Now, the technical workings of the match are nothing to write home about, but I've realized that I have enjoyed this Tanahashi retirement road much more when I took off the expectations of it, of just I'm not going into it expecting 4-star matches, every week. I'm just going into it, one, appreciating the career that he's had and what he's contributed. And also too, like what each of these, what the relationships with his opponents mean, so I got what I wanted out of it. Like I said, maybe a strong 2-3 quarters. But like I said, strong. It was strong. And the post-match comments after this match were just really heartwarming. Of just every time he cries on this tour, I end up crying too. And he talked about what it means to get the love of his seniors, and the support from them. I will say though, this is probably the weakest match. This might have been the weakest match he had on the tour. I think at least 2 of the matches with the Young Lions were significantly better than this. I think that the Kato match and the Nagai match were both significantly better, and maybe Murashima was on par. But like I said, I got what I wanted out of it, so I'm good.
Yeah, you're not wrong whatsoever. I think that it's been a brilliant marketing decision because the last couple of years, you watch Tanahashi. He's struggling to get over to the top rope to do the high fly flow. He's barely coming off the ground to do his sling blade and shit like that. And you're just like, oh, it's rough. And you want it. And then some nights he turns it on and he's the ace. And you're like, what's going, it's so inconsistent. You don't know when he's going to be able to turn it on or not. And when he's going to be able to get up and not. But it's different now because back then you were like, how long is this going to go on? You're seeing one of your most beloved heroes slowly descend and make his body disintegrate to where he can't be what you want him to be. And you're just like, fuck, I don't know how long I can bear watching this. But now it's like, there's just 1 year left. And every time he's out there, you're kind of savoring it. And you don't have that expectation of him having to, live up to a certain standard because we're just happy that we can get what we can get out of this year. And yeah, you're absolutely right. This was the worst of the big matches that he had on the tour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Togi Makabe's fault. There's always the joke on this show. There's always the joke that, we have the Togi Makabe bump counter. How many bumps is this man going to take in the match? And it's usually the over under is 1.5, maybe 2. and he took 3 or 4 bumps. This is this was Rock WrestleMania last year levels of performance. He took more than, he's taking a lot of bumps. And but Tanahashi was bumbling. Yeah,
bro,
it was rough. It was a rough night for Tana.
When he went to jump up to do the high fly flow and he couldn't get over, my heart broke a little bit. I know it's the final roll, but I'm like, come on, Ace. What's going on?
I know he do it all year long, but man, he wants to keep
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. Remember My Dad is a Heel Wrestler?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all I'm gonna say.
That's exactly. But yeah, this match, you know, you had, like Lyric said, you just kind of had to accept it for the vibes instead of like, you know, trying to, you know, put your Meltzer glasses on and kind of critique it. Like, obviously, it was not something we would have saw, you know, 10, 20 years ago. But, you know, is what it is. It was more about the, you know, nostalgia, the feeling. And Tanahashi does it. He busted out Schoolboy, got the pin on Makabe, and you know, I'm like, if he's gonna just win by roll-ups, why is he killing himself doing high fly flows? Like, that man went up and missed. I'm like, what are you? Save that high fly flow for some of the bigger matches on this retirement run.
This man's in his Tony Storm era.
Rookie of the year.
Yeah.
I think he always says that people want to see the high fly flow, but no, I agree, especially of just that Windy City Riot show, especially like that is. The house is being drawn, you know, on your name. Like, you have to, people expect a lot, I would say, especially versus Takeshita. And so I'm all for save yourself for when it counts. You know, you have Goto at the, you know, the 53rd anniversary. That's going to be a big match. You're going to have Takeshita. And, you know, like, he's going to definitely be featured big at Forbidden Door. And, like, you know, I don't know if he's going to try to do it. He probably will try to be crazy enough to do a G1. Jesus Christ, bro. Jesus Christ. Oh, I don't know.
If Takeshita doesn't stand on the top rope with Tanahashi and then hold him away from him and say, I'm sorry, I love you, and hit him with that fucking lariat off the top rope. If they don't do that, then what are we even doing here, you know?
Yeah.
I think also, too, of the Takeshita match, I think the best thing that he could do is get battered. I think, like, to save his knee, I think that's the best thing, because he's just such a great storyteller. He's one of the greatest baby faces of all time, arguably the best, you know, depending on who you ask. And so, especially with Takeshita being who he is right now, he just needs to really just get battered and like get back up and get battered and get back up. I don't think we need too many of the up to the top rope of just let it play out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Gets battered. Roll up 1, 2, 3. We got a new never champion. Hey.
Oh my God. Tana having never matches in 2025 is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. The people want to see the high fly flow, but his knees do not want to see that.
Yeah, his knees want to see a doctor's office. They were like,
those knees haven't seen shit in years. Those knees are blind.
they like to see. They need to. He should have contacted Rey Mysterio's surgeon before he announced his retirement.
It wasn't a surgeon. Rey Mysterio went down to Costa Rica. He got shot full of what are those things called?
The stem cells.
Yeah,
he got stem cells.
Them stemmies.
That's what Tanahashi needs. He needs to get some stemmies.
Him and take Naito with you.
Yeah, seriously.
There's no fixing that. He's too far gone.
Damn.
Naito's knees and eyes are fucked. Like, it's just damn.
Yeah.
I've mentioned this many times on the show, but like, if you're Naito and you know Tanahashi as the president announced his retirement in the shape that you're in, like for the next year, all the focus is on him. Like, what the fuck do you do? Like, you can't rain on his parade, but you also can't retire, but you also know you can't go. Like,
you know what you do? You grab that tag rope.
Grab a tag rope.
You grab that tag rope. That's what you do.
Oh, man. Well, let's move on to the next matchup here. We had Drilla Maloney defeating Shingo Takagi in 10 minutes and 40 seconds. So it's all built on the tour with Drilla from New Year's Dash jumping to heavyweight, going into this feud with Shingo, saying dragons aren't real, and finally getting to the matchup here. And let's see, you kind of proved it here. Lyric, what were your thoughts on this match?
This was a match of two of the fakest junior heavyweights that ever lived. It's so funny because I can even look through my tweets and I can see like multiple times ever since Drilla, because I remember him as Dan Maloney, started at New Japan. I'm like, he's not a junior, bro. Like, what are we doing? It's like, this is Shingo literally all over again. So it's nice to have, like, you know, the match of the two fakest junior heavyweights that ever existed in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But this was really good. And I think, like, this match, obviously they had done it before, but the dynamics were shifted and it really made Drilla, it was a good match to submit him as a real heavyweight and a really good match to cement him as a legitimate threat heading into New Japan Cup. And so I think that it did what it needed to do. I was honestly shocked that Shingo won here, but not disappointed. I think it was good enough to where it made sense. I'm just very interested to see where Shingo goes after this. Obviously I kind of feel like he's been in like that Neverland holding pattern for like the last few years, and obviously anything can happen, but especially knowing how this card ended, it kind of feels like, he might be the new Goto. He might be the new Goto. And obviously he's won the title before, but that was during the pandemic. And so I worry for Shingo, especially like in the LIJ dynamics now I felt like there was a time where he felt like the number 2 biggest guy behind Naito. And like right now he might be number 4 in the grand dynamics of everything. But for Drilla, I think, he came out of this match just looking like a star. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like New Japan said to Shingo, they're like, you had your run.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you. You're good. You're good here.
I think also too, though, it's just like a lot of the guys who had just been, I think the solid guys are getting opportunity. Like, like Zach got a run, and everybody last year was just like, well, Zach's ready. Give him the ball. Goto's getting a run. Everybody last year said Goto's ready. Give him the ball. So I'm like, maybe there's hope for Shingo, but I'm not gonna lie, it feels so over, bro. Like, it feels kind of over. But I would love to be surprised. I would at least do something. I need him out of Neverland.
I personally don't see Shingo like the new Goto. If anything, if I'm just being honest, I see him like the new Suzuki. Like a guy that's Teflon, that has the gimmick, the work, that you can heat him up. You can put any title on him anywhere up and down the card. It doesn't really fucking matter, but they're never going to make him the ace of the company ever again. Like, it's very clear they're not going to do that. Yeah. But overseas he matters. And, he's going to be able to work with all the young guys. And like, there's a ceiling, and it's probably, the Suzuki ceiling. And, that's kind of what the deal is with him right now, I would say. But man, Drilla, right?
Yeah.
Like, the work finally matched up with the look. And I think part of it is like, remember when Kenny was a junior and then he turned on AJ and he was like, I was starving myself.
Yeah.
That's this man Drilla right now. He was like, I was starving myself. And now, he's in his final form right now. And this man his work didn't translate to the junior division the way that you would hope that it would. Yeah. Like he was the power junior, but he wasn't the power junior in the way that like Sho or Shingo were. Like he was almost kind of held back by being a junior. Now that he's at the heavyweight, like his style of work translates so much better to this division. And man, I thought this match rocked. Like, this was where I was like, all right, like we have a famous saying when we watch, when me, Jeremy, Rich, James, we watch shows together. If it's a really good show, we'll be like 3 matches in. If it's really good, we're like, we're on pace.
Yep.
And that's what this felt like to me. It was like, I was like, damn, we're on pace right now. This show is showing, this match is matching. And the match was just really, really, really good. But then suddenly, to see him fucking muscle out of the Last of the Dragon and then toss this big ass man Shingo up on his shoulders, and then just fucking drop him on his head. I was like, oh my God, we're looking at it's probably not true, but I felt like Vince McMahon watching Tom McGee against Bret Hart, where I was like, that man's going to be the world champion. We're going to push him to the fucking moon right now.
Oh man. Yeah, this match rocked. I loved it, and this is one of those matches where we talk about, a guy has opportunity, are they actually going to take it? And I thought Drilla absolutely delivered here. They had a little bit under 11 minutes, and it was just go, 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 go. Throwing big bombs, throwing big lariats, big exchanges, and I popped for Drilla doing the Made in Japan to Shingo, and obviously Shingo was
that was cool.
Counteract to his pile driver and stuff, and Yeah, it was like a fast-paced, never-style matchup where they're just hitting big bombs and big moves, and who's going to be the first guy to get back up and who's going to stay down. And like you mentioned, Josh, Drilla was able to power up and hit that devastating Drilla Killer, which I mean he's made the Drilla Killer one of the most devastating moves in New Japan. The crowd shrieks. If you watch Japanese commentary, Milano screams. He's like, ah!
Yeah, but how would it not be? Think about the mechanics of what the move just fucking is. It's a seated gonzo bomb. Like, it just is.
I think I watched him before he came to New Japan because I've been watching his Rev Pro stuff. And I remember when he first came to New Japan, he was saying how he packed like heavyweight power in a junior heavyweight frame. And I feel like a lot of that was to have a spot, just because there were so many, like, especially in Bullet Club, I think, like, you had already had David Finlay at the top. You had not David Finlay, but Gabe Kidd. You had Alex Coughlin at the time. So, like, there really wasn't any room for, I think, another heavy, especially one that didn't come out of the dojo system. And so I think, like, he was just really just trying to fit to, like, just to have a spot. And I think like now everything's kind of like, evened out, opened up, and he can really just be who he is, which is like absolutely devastating. And I think this is just such a better fit for him as a heavyweight. Like you can just tell like this is his style. And honestly, probably in World Tag League, like him and Gabe as a team will probably make a lot more sense, I think, as a configuration going forward. I know Jake Lee still has to come back, but I still think that my idea is better.
I'd be much more in favor for Drilla and Gabe than Jake Lee.
Correct.
We had a question here from Rambo and Slam Pig. It says, between beating Shingo and some favorable matchups in the New Japan Cup bracket, it seems like a big push is coming for Drilla. What do you see as a good spot for him on the card for the upcoming year?
Neverland. And in a good way. I think like he makes sense, as a guy who should have a never open weight run, at least by the end of this year. I think like that's a really good spot for him. I think he has the attitude for it. I think like he works the style for it. I think like that's a really good place for him. I would say never open weight championship should be his lane.
What do you think, Josh? Oh, it's frozen.
I think that once Robbie X, can you guys not hear me?
You're super delayed right now, but go ahead.
I was just going to say once Robbie X was, X for the Bullet Club, that's when I knew his days as a junior were numbered. There's no way he could keep up with that.
Yeah. And we're seeing, also we'll get to Ishimori, kind of solidifying that team with Robbie X. And so, I think some shifting up in the Bullet Club, let the spot open for him. And I agree with you, Lyric. I think Never, I love calling it Neverland. I like that, Neverland. But I think that's a great spot for him. And I feel like, we're always looking for new contenders there. I mean, for so many years, it was Goto, Ishii, Shingo as kind of the main players in there. Hanare stepped up in the last couple of years as well. So I think to have another new face in there that could kind of keep that Never style going would be great.
Yeah, and he makes sense for it. Like he has like the perfect style for Never, and I think like for guys like that, Never could never be a demotion. Like I think like I like that the direction that we were going when Hanare had the belt, because it just really like emphasized that the Never title has its own style. It's just not it's not just a random, New Japan mid-card title of only like, the BMFs of the roster should really ever hold that belt. And so I think that Drilla is well on his way to being one of those people.
Yeah. So following that, we had Great Okan defeating Shota Umino in 9 minutes and 38 seconds. And all throughout the Road to Tour, Great Okan was terrorizing Umino, cutting up the merge, tripping up the signs, and trying to get the true Umino to come out here.
So I will say this. I think that Great Okan has looked great since retiring the KOPW belt. I've never been a huge fan of his, but I've liked his work as of recent. I really have. This was one of the least least best worked matches on the card, I would say probably slightly better than Sonata Taichi, but it wasn't particularly great. But I do think, like, as far as like advancing the programs for like both men, I think like it really did its job. Obviously, the post-match angle is what people walked away talking about the most. Shota, I him going full Britney Spears with the Clippers was very it was something. I think he realized, like, I don't even think that people dislike him. It's just more so that people had grown apathetic. And so, like, when you want to make people feel something, you have to do something drastic. And so this was certainly it. And, like, it certainly made me feel. I'm just interested to see where we go from here, because obviously he acknowledges, and now you can see the company acknowledges, that he needs to be rebuilt. Him in his current form just couldn't go on and be successful in any shape or form, especially after that dreadful Wrestle Kingdom main event. I just don't know how they rebuild him. Do you do it in front of everybody? Do you some people say send him on a second excursion, but I don't think the answer to fix somebody who has always struggled with a lack of identity is to send them to Mexico so they can get somebody else's identity. I just don't think that that's the great idea either. And I don't think that sending him to AEW with Mox is the great idea either. I think he's just in a very weird position of just, it's going to take a lot of work to rehab him, but because all of his peers have gotten so good and they have delivered on the investment that was placed into them, is it worth it at this point? And I think that just remains to be seen. Obviously, he's in New Japan Cup. I just genuinely don't know. I think he's a big question mark right now. But I think that Great O'Khan came out of that looking like a killer. He looked, and he, took it upon himself. I saw his backstage comments. He said, "Yeah, don't ever say the word ace again. The only ace." He said, I don't ever want to ever hear you say the word ace come out of your mouth ever again. The only ace is Hiroshi Tanahashi, and if I hear you say it again, I'm gonna do you even worse. And I gotta respect it. He said, Great O'Khan standing on big business. I gotta respect it.
Oh, man.
We watched O'Khan for so many years stand in the corner of Tanahashi as a young lion and bang on the mat and swing the towel around and cry out for his hero. So when he heard that man, call himself Ace, he was like Michael Jordan. He was like, I took that personally. You know what I'm saying?
Who said who? And I think also too, I enjoyed like seeing his progression, like at least over the past year. I think New Beginning Osaka, the New Beginning tour last year, he looked like a geek, like, in front of like Okada holding up the KOPW title, and like, nobody's taking him seriously. Yeah. In contrast to this tour, like he's really standing tall. Like, he's really, he's a weird guy. Like, he's not a traditional wrestler. Like, he's not a traditional wrestler. He does a lot of weird stuff sometimes, and like, he's different, but I think he's found a way. He's starting to make that really work for him, and he can still feel imposing. And I think that he's starting to finally feel imposing. And you know what? I could be wrong. Maybe it's not him being imposing. Maybe Shota just really looks that weak. But I think that, he has honestly benefited off of Shota's downfall tremendously.
Yeah. I heard that last year they orchestrated that thing with the train where he saved that little girl. That was never real. That was all inside job. No, but the match was fine. I don't mechanically, is there anything negative to speak about it? Not really, but it also didn't light my world on fire. It was fine, but it was an interesting kind of crossroads match. And I heard the talking point that so many people had. They're like, this man Shota Umino came out, no response. And then, he did the angle and they didn't get the reactions that they were expecting to, quote unquote. But I am wondering if that's really the case, because where were they? They were in Osaka. Where's the first place that really started to boo this guy and reject him on a public scale? Was Osaka, the Edion Arena. And I'm like, did they really not know that this was potentially the outcome, and maybe they were banking on it. And I don't know. I don't know if the creative, if Kukuch and all them, are playing chess while we're all thinking in checkers. I really don't know that. But I also have to wonder, like, did they not think that could be a potential, response? To speak to what you mentioned, Lyric, I think a lot of people, they look at history and they think about like Nakamura and his second excursion and what that did for him. And then they look at Naito and the same thing, and they're like, yeah, maybe it'll work for this guy. He seems to be failing. And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is he's not Nakamura and he's not Naito. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know if you send him to the magical world of CMLL, if it's going to turn things around the way that you all think that it hopefully might. Also, with him shaving his head, that is such a stark visual of storytelling that you can't just disappear the man after that. You have to have an immediate follow-up. But last year they did the same thing with Yuya Uemura, and they didn't have a good creative direction for him in the immediate sense. I hope they have something better creatively planned for Shota Umino, but something, it was like going Hart. Enough is enough. It's time for a change. It wasn't working out. Something needed to happen. And, we're going to find out, is this guy, in the same line of the Nakamuras and the Naitos, a guy that can reshape himself and reinvent himself, or is he Eric Watts?
Yeah, that's gonna be the big
is
question.
Is he Nepo baby that just doesn't fucking have it, and has ruined his connection with the crowd, and it's a done deal, and he's getting bypassed by everybody else. 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
that's what you're seeing happen. You're seeing a whole generation of guys lap him.
And even like the class of young lions that came after him or lapped him, it's just, you're at a point to when you think about, out of all of them, we were all the most invested in Shota. He was the one who, in his young lion days, he's immediately aligned with the biggest foreigner coming into the company at that time in John Moxley. Mm-hmm. Even on his excursion, he's sent to Rev Pro. He's learning under Will Ospreay. His father's red shoes. When nobody else from his generation is getting those big matches, because Okada's not wrestling young guys, Naito's not wrestling young guys. None of these people are, but who's getting these big matches and placements? Shota was getting those big match opportunities with Ospreay. He was given more than just about everybody else of his generation. Even in the midst of getting booed, by the crowds and getting rejected, he still got a Wrestle Kingdom main event. And, he's still squandered all of that goodwill. And I think it's just currently at this point of, I'll be honest, I don't think that they have too much creatively planned. I highly doubt it, but I think that after a certain point, like, I think it's on him. And I also think, like, with the second excursion thing, think about when all those things happened, the world was nowhere near as connected as it is now, especially from like a wrestling standpoint and a streaming standpoint and a social media standpoint. Mm-hmm. There used to be a time, not that you can kind of like hide a guy, but there used to be a time where you can he could go away and really focus on what he's doing, and like he doesn't have to deal with that type of scrutiny. There's no way where he can go in the wrestling world where people won't be watching and scrutinizing. Oh,
you're wrong, Lyric. I'm sorry to say it. You're wrong. Here's why. No one fucking watches CMLL. All right, Westerners and Japanese people do not watch Lucha Libre. This is bullshit. They should be watching it, but they don't. Like, if he goes and he works Arena Mexico, he will be hidden. Aside from a GIF or two, he will be totally hidden behind a paywall. No one's seeing that shit.
See, I think that to a certain extent, but I will say Shota Umino has haters to the point to where people will clip his matches and literally all people will know. No, that's what I was going to say. Let's just be real. All people will know from his CMLL run is literally the worst parts. The literally worst parts will be clipped and made viral on the internet, just like that picture of him crying. And that is what will end up being viral.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Watto. Remember, anytime Watto botched, they were like, "Oh shit, I don't know if it's gonna work out for the master."
Let's just be real. Like, that's how petty New Japan fans are. Like, because they're going to, and at this point, so many of them have been turned off by this guy to where, it doesn't matter where he goes. And honestly, AEW is like the worst place for him to go right now, because I think the only thing that could possibly make the Death Riders worse is Shota. I think that might be the only thing that could make the Death Riders angle worse.
Yeah,
is Shota Umino.
We don't need a second Wheeler Utah.
No, I said also too. I said the only thing that could possibly be interesting about him potentially like spending some time at AEW is like him working with Shibata. Like I think I think that could be some, especially Musketeer, and I think with Shibata, former leader of the dojo. I think there could be something interesting there, but honestly, AEW is too much of a cakewalk. The schedule, you're only going to be wrestling once a week. That's nowhere near of like what you'll be doing if you want to really be a top guy in New Japan. I don't know. Like, I think right now he has like that spoiled brat persona, and it might not be purposeful, but like that's what people think of him as. And I don't know. I don't know what you do with him. I genuinely don't know.
You know who could help him in AEW?
Yeah.
There's one man that you can never count out.
Jeff Jarrett. Chris Jericho.
It's Chris Jericho. if you want to pair him with somebody that will find a gimmick that will get him reinvigorated and get him over, especially since he's not staying on the roster and he can get him over and then send his ass back to Japan, it's Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho will find something that will get this guy over with the crowd again and then send him back to Japan. Like, that's what you do. If you want to like save his career, you send him to you send him under the learning tree is what you do there.
I can't imagine what his nickname would be. Like, like Brian keeps Bad Apple, and
we have no clue, but Chris already knows. Chris has thought about this.
He's just waiting for the call.
One last thing I want to say about this match. I know we haven't kicked it to you, Jeremy. I'm sorry, but just one last thing. They did the spot again where the person's arms are trapped behind them and the person is in the full mount on their back and they're elbowing them in the back of the head. And then the referee's trying to pull them away to check on the person. Bro, I'm sorry. If you got to pull the person off of them to check on their prone body, stop the fucking match. It's over. That's it. You don't need to. I know that this isn't MMA, and I know like we could easily deconstruct wrestling. If you go down that hill of like non-believability, eventually none of it really works, but there has to be a delineation line between some established rules that have to like maintain so that you can like keep your believability, and like someone just endlessly pounding the back of a prone person's head. They're not protecting themselves. They're not moving and they're dead. Stop the match. There's no reason to pull them off. It's over. That's it. You don't need to do a 10 count, We're gonna talk about 10 counts later, but like, it's over.
Yeah, stop it. He's already dead.
They did that in the tag match this weekend in Australia when when fucking Will is laying on Kenny's body to protect him. If you got to lay on your partner's body to protect them, the match is over.
Oh man, but yeah, I totally agree with you guys on this match. This was more about the story after the match. Okan, he hits the flatliner, gets to win with the Eliminator Claw Slam on Umino. And I thought, in a way, it was kind of a bold decision here because I feel like a lot of people were just expecting Umino to kind of be the John Cena and just overcome and get the win and kind of this force bayface push. But, they made the call there in Osaka where he first got booed to have him lose. And throughout the whole match, he was getting booed. And then, he loses. And then big post-match angle I guys mentioned, Okan was coming in with the razors. He grabbed it, shaved his own head, and the crowd did kind of like ooh and ah, and there was starting to be some Umino chant. So I feel like they did kind of get the desired reaction of people like starting to get some sympathy for him. Like, they were booing him the whole match. They're like, oh man, like this guy is shaving his own head. So yeah, I'm wondering,
are we gonna get canceled if we say it sounded like women and children that were cheering for Umino in that moment?
Yeah, it was, and I think we should say it. I think we need to be honest about it. I think that it is a lot of it is sympathy, and And I say this as I think so many people genuinely want to like him. So many of us genuinely want to like him because and it goes back to that point of we invested so much in him, of our emotions. We watched his journey from top to bottom. And I think to watch his journey and to see it go up and then go down before he even accomplished really anything, but him to claim so much before really accomplishing anything. I think a lot of, and I'm not even sure if it was all sympathy. I think a lot of it is just wanting to see something of, I said this on my own podcast, but I feel like New Japan has been trying to do reverse psychology with a lot of the Musketeers since they came back from excursion, even when they did the original announcement, right, of the Musketeers, it's trying to light this fire under them, trying to light them competition between, them, and even with the Tokyo Dome main event of I think they tried to use reverse psychology of this is he has to show up in the Tokyo Dome, right? He has to do something in the Tokyo Dome.
I think that's called gaslighting.
It's just not working out. And I think it's just not working out. And I don't know. I think he has to be considerably willing to humble himself. And I think that shaving his head in public was a really good start to that. I think it doesn't get much more, humbling than that. But I think that this just is a start. And I honestly think he needs to lose some more. I really do. I think he shouldn't be winning another match for a
for a year.
Yeah, he needs to lose a lot.
And then next year he comes out for the Rambo. We're all thinking all right, this is his time. It's been a year. He's gonna come back and win the Rambo. Set himself up for February. First one out. Lose. Done.
First one out is crazy.
After that, puts back on the black trunks. You know what I'm saying?
I was thinking he need to put them on right now and start running to the ring again.
You know what though? I wouldn't start mind running to the ring. I wouldn't mind that as a gimmick. Hell, if Go Shiozaki over at Noah can do a young boy gimmick and go back to the black trunks and back to the basics to try to, after all that he's accomplished, I'm sorry. Shota Umino can take off those hideous pants and put those black trunks and boots back on and start from scratch.
Yeah, when you said you had a fully pink room, I was like, she had a Shota Umino room is what she had.
And did you see it? And you also heard the part about I couldn't stand it and I covered it all up. I can't believe somebody would do that on purpose. I can't believe somebody would do that on purpose.
I think part of what happened is Shota Umino basically experienced Barbenheimer. He watched Oppenheimer, he watched Barbie, and then he was like, this could be my aesthetic for fucking wrestling. Didn't work out.
You know what? But then he dropped the black jacket. I mean, at least he used to have the Death Riders jacket to kind of balance it out. I mean, you're giving the girls full pink. Here's the thing. I think we need to bring more pink in wrestling. I like pink. I just think it should look good. And I think that's the thing of if you're going to bite off of Naito and if you're going to bite off of Tanahashi, these are very stylish people. You know, these are very stylish people. I'm all for cosplay. It just has to be good.
Yeah, and I felt his original gear when he first came back
was great.
It was great. And it had the pink, he had the ties. He looked like an ace. He looked like a superstar when he first came back.
Yeah.
We're spending so much time on Shota Umino. This man does not deserve all this time, but he's getting it because people want to hear it.
I think that's also one of the biggest stories in New Japan right now, though. I think in New Japan circles of so much time was spent on Shota Umino, so we can't just sit here and act like, oh my gosh, well, he's donezo, because clearly he's not if he's
right
behind time. But at the same time, there's so many more interesting people, and it's how much longer can we justify and validate spending this much time on a Shota Umino? And I said that honestly, and this is a route, and it will require some significant humbling. I think that he should try his hand at some domestic excursion. I think that the best success story that they have right now is Oiwa, and I think it's because he went to Noah. And I'm not saying that Noah specifically is for everybody, and I'm sure, like, especially with the WWE relationship now, there's a lot of red tape and stuff. But he needs to find a way how to learn how to connect specifically with Japanese audiences, and he needs to be in a place where, I'm gonna be honest, where they don't have a soft spot for him.
So you want him to go to DDT is what you want him to do.
No, I don't think he might come back goofier than he already is. No.
You got three choices. He can go to DDT and he can be goofy. He can go to Glate and he can work some shoot style, get his head bust.
Oh God! Jima will kill him.
Or he can go to Big Japan and work some death matches and start working with some death glass. Like, those are his three choices. That's it. Like, there's nothing else.
I fuck with that. I'm not gonna lie. That last one, hey, I like it. I'm partial to All Japan. That's probably like my comfort promotion.
Too prestigious for him. He can't do that.
Damn.
You know, someone there to work with Yuma Anzai. Come on, like, you know.
I will say he would get. I think that's also the thing about the young guys right now in All Japan. They'll lap him too. Of just Yuma Yagi and Yuma Anzai, I can say with full confidence are significantly better than Shota Umino right now in Big 2025. Big Japan though, hey, I rock with it. I think, you know what, he never really showed us what that roughneck name, you know, living up to it, you know, that shooter style. Like, that's actually good. Or even if you're not doing a full tour, do some freedom shows or something. Like,
link with Jun Kasai.
Yeah, like do something else. Like, do something out of the box. I think, like, right now we're just but like more so specifically, he is waiting. Okay, New Japan, what are we gonna do about this problem? Like, take some outside bookings. Like, be aggressive. Like, do something else.
The chocolate bat.
Something, yeah.
Put him in Choco Pro.
Yeah.
Let him see what he can do with what's the guy's name? Ali Balyan. They'll figure something out.
Listen, send him to Sariism. She'll put him in shape.
Yeah.
She will put him in shape.
Here's something that a lot of fans that are like modern New Japan fans, they've lived through probably, I would say, like the last decade of Japanese pro wrestling. But, you know, there's some of us that have been watching longer than that. And there is this aspect that you sort of have to embrace when it comes to the line system that not everybody you attach yourself to is going to fucking make it, you know? Or if they do, they're going to have to find a niche that is far removed from where maybe you thought the company could project them to be. And I've lived through that. We've seen the Kenzo Suzuki's and guys like that you thought were going to be the ace of this company, and it doesn't work out and they're not around and they leave. And then, you know, stuff like that happens. And it's part of the reason why the system is so strong, because for every success story, there are those failures, and you kind of have to embrace that aspect of it, because not everybody can be the ace. Like, there's only so many guys that can be in the top 4, top 5. And I'm saying right now, I don't think Shota Umino is going to be one of those guys. I used to think he was going to be ace, but I don't think he is anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, he's been getting lapped, and we'll talk about two guys later on this show who are showing more ace status than he is. He's getting lapped.
I think he'll find a spot. I kind of like that idea of him like being the deathmatch guy. Like, we've seen people throughout the years who like weren't as talented as you thought they were, so they gimmick it up. And that becomes like their whole entire avenue. Like, why not? Why can't he be
Sandman?
Be the roughneck.
Why can't he be the roughneck, the fucking Sandman? Or what's wrong with me? Who's the dude from FMW? The Onita. Why can't he be the Onita of New Japan? Like, let's do that.
Listen, Onita is Mox's greatest influence. So like that, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I think also too, like when it comes to Shota at this point of, like you said, every young lion doesn't work out. Like, and the thing is, New Japan is in a better position than just about every other Japanese promotions because they bring in several guys. When you look at like All Japan or like Noah, sometimes they can only get like one good recruit at a time. Right. Like, if that guy's wrong, you're done. Like, you're cooked like for like a whole cycle. And so like they are at this point, I think this time last year, especially after Okada left, I felt like everybody was panicking because it's like, we don't have talent. Who's going to step up? Who's going to step up? But I don't think that, obviously there's still a sense of urgency, but I think like the conversation has changed significantly this year to where it's like, oh, we do have talent now. It's just like, who's going to do what? Like, I think it's completely different now. And there are several people who can take that space. I think like even for people who haven't been watching Japanese wrestling for a long time, just take a look at AEW, right? Of just the company's now been around 6 years. There's a lot of people who were stars, stars in 2019 that in 2025, they're not cutting it. Like, I think of a certain dentist, right? Like, you think
they're not
like
tooth merchant.
Exactly. Like, in 2019, you're like, oh, this is the future face of the women's division, and they're going to carry this for a long time. And that's just not the case 5 years later. And, like, it happens. It's just one of those things. But
where's Joey Janela?
I think we're at that point,
Marco Stunt.
we're at that point to where I think Shota has like one more try left before I don't think New Japan can really justify consistently investing in this guy to be a top guy. Like, you just got to let him be Toru Yano and just go on. And I feel like that's disrespectful to Toru Yano. And
I think the word you were looking for was Yujiro.
Yes. That was disrespectful to Toru Yano. I'm sorry, Toru Yano.
We did have a question here
funny.
from Def Triangle 720. It says, with Shota's hit to rock bottom after losing to Okan and cutting his hair, do you think the company could pull same tactic as the Sonata run from 2023 in the New Japan Cup?
It's too soon for that.
I'm sorry. They want him to win?
That's too soon. You know what though? You know what? Lyric in our Discord, we might, I don't know. I don't want to disrespect the people in our Discord, but we have some freaks that like think he's winning. Like I've seen the conversations. There's a groundswell. There's a lot of people that think that's happening. I personally don't, but yeah, like that's a conversation.
I will say when you look at the New Japan Cup bracket, the right side is particularly weak compared to the left, to the point to where I could see a scenario where he goes to the final. I don't think he wins though. And I don't think he should win. I think like at the same time of New Japan, if you're trending upwards, it's kind of like almost kind of like the AEW Death Riders thing in a way of just like, if fans are really rocking with what you're doing right now and things are going in the right direction, why would you take that risk right now to do something that you know that nobody's asking for? Like, why would you do that? Especially when you have, like, even on that New Japan Cup bracket, there's at least 4 guys who right now make a lot of sense. Like, I think that could really get it. Most of them are young, hungry, lots of potential. Why would you do that for somebody who's not even over? Like, you told the young, and I think that is disrespectful, right? Honestly, because you told the young generation to step up. You told them that, hey, I need you to start doing more. I need you to take the throne, all this. And you have guys who have been doing that. And to consistently give opportunities to the one who has not done any of that is fucking crazy.
The U in Sakura Genesis does not stand for Umino. You know what I'm saying? And you brought up a funny point. Like, if you're one of those next generation guys, like a Gabe Kidd or
Tsuji, Uemura, Oiwa.
Any of those guys. If you were watching the main event of the Tokyo Dome, like you were sitting there, like covering your face, like in awe, like in shock, but deep down you were smiling. Because you're like, this is just this is an obstacle that is going to get out of my way. And then you're like, this is terrible. It's just terrible. But deep down you're like, fuck yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to happen. This man to fucking fail so I can, lap him.
I think the opposite, though. I don't know if you saw, but Yota Tsuji's VTR before the Gabe Kidd match. And he says like of how his generation has been seen as next up for so long. And he said that Shota is the only thing that's keeping them from becoming the now, because the next generation can never truly move on until they pull Shota up with them. And then just because of the company is not going to formally accept basically the generation shift until he is pulled up too. And I think that that's real. When you see of how hard that they fought for him, they gave him the Tokyo Dome main event anyway. Like, when you see that, I think that there's some validity to it. It doesn't matter how good everybody else is doing and how great, that they're performing. If the company is still so invested in trying to make Shota Umino happen, then what's the point of the rest of it? It's only but so far, that they can collectively go. It doesn't matter how great Tsuji and Gabe are doing and how great Oyo has looked and how good Yuya's doing, because the one who had the most anticipation out of all of them was Shota, and the biggest shitter out of all of them is Shota. But the one who the company is most invested in, unfortunately, is Shota.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to the next matchup here. We had Sonata defeating Taichi in 8 minutes and 35 seconds. So, the whole road to was a continuation of the feud with Sonata turning on Taichi, leaving just 5 guys to become just 4 guys. And we've seen this pick back up on the road to. And obviously, this was a big story of low blows all throughout the tour. We had, Sonata giving low blows to Taichi, and then getting DQ'd, and then Taichi snapping and low blowing Sonata. And it all built to this matchup here. We got several low blow spots, and towards the end, Sonata was able to hit a low blow and the deadfall to get the win on Taichi. But also the bigger story here is what happened post-match. A lot of people are like, what is the point of this match besides, what is next? Neither Taichi or Sonata seem like guys that are really on the up and up right now. And this match was essentially just the ramp way for the return of the Heat Storm, Yuya Uemura. So Yuya comes back and helps save Taichi from getting beat down from the Bullet Club.
False. You said it was the rise for the Heat Storm. That's not true. This was the rise of Sonata's new entrance gear. What was it? How did it make me feel? Why did it happen? I don't know. What is the correlation to his character? I don't know. These are questions that maybe you guys can enlighten me on. But
you know what? It was something. He was watching some 2017 Evolve. He saw DJ Z and he was like, I like that. I should be a DJ. Let me, get some light up gear, some stereos.
He had the kind of fucking pedals and setups that guitarists play with and stuff like that. I don't know what it was. I don't know who. They said it cost $1,000. I was like, that looks kind of cheap for $1,000. But I don't know. What is his new nickname since he's joined the War Dogs?
Cold-blooded.
So I don't understand how a bunch of speakers and dials and lights speak to the cold-blooded name. Maybe he needs to recalibrate. I don't know, but
when you give him the ox, it's cold-blooded. He playing on bangers,
like Rich all the way to fucking. Did you catch those? I'm sorry, Lyric, but did you catch those dudes burying me on fucking One Nation Radio this week?
Yeah. No, I didn't catch it this week. What happened?
All right, so in 2017, we're on our way to New Orleans, right? It's like a 9-hour drive. And we left super early, 3 a.m, it's late at night, dark. They give Rich the ox. And he's playing nothing but bangers. I'm talking hard ass fucking bangers, which is fine. I'm cool with it. Jeremy's cool with it. Rich is cool. Everyone's cool. We're vibing. We're vibing. But then 6 hours goes by and it hasn't let up at all. We're still going fucking hard. And at a certain point, I was like, are we going to talk at all on this road?
Where were y'all driving from?
From Florida all the way to New Orleans. So, but then a few years back, we were doing what's the shit we do at the end of the year?
FOH.
Yeah, we're doing FOH, and I brought this up. I was like, man, we listened to so much rap on the way there, and everyone's like, whoa, and I'm like, You're telling on yourself right now. I'm like, no, I like rap, but like, bro, it was so many hours. It was so loud for so many hours. And then they buried me this week. They're like, Josh was hating his life. I was like, I wasn't hating my life for like the first 6 hours. It was just those last 3 where it never stopped.
Oh man.
I love my dogs. I thought we were going to talk at some point. You know, I thought we were going to talk about star ratings or, you know, reminisce. Nah, it was nothing but, you know, just crunk the whole time, just hard, just fucking going. And then the weird thing is on the way back, for some reason, we listened to nothing but Meltzer for 9 hours straight. And that was too much for me too.
That's so weird.
No, it was James. James was like, yeah,
okay.
He's like, I didn't hear any of Dave. I got to catch up. So we're listening to Dave at 2.0 for the entire 9 hours. We listened to so many hours of like wrestling Observer. And I'm like, this is too much, bro. Like I can't listen to any one thing for that many hours.
Oh my God, that actually sounds so. I can't even listen to like I can't listen to rap that long, not for 6 hours straight in a car. Like, you know.
Oh, we did.
Well, I listen like Kendrick. Like I would have to listen to like one artist. I can't listen. Yeah.
So thoughts on the matchup and the angle here of Uemura coming back?
Oh, okay. This was the worst match on the card. We can go ahead and put that out there. And I'm upset about it. And the reason why I'm upset about it is because I've really enjoyed Sonata's work since his return from injury. I think that he's had some really good matches. I really liked what he was doing. Even when he joined, you know, Bullet Club, I was like, okay, let him cook, you know. And so I thought that the Tai Chi stuff was really entertaining at first. And I was honestly hoping that this match was on the Wrestle Kingdom card. And I'm so glad that I was wrong. I have never been so glad to be wrong. I was dead wrong and I deserved to be wrong. Because I really had much higher expectations for this match. And I don't know why, because it was terrible. However, the outfit, I know it wasn't for everybody, it was for me. Like, you know, I don't know if anybody watched the Grammys, but, you know, Lady Gaga's back. So I feel like, you know, what did we say? The kids say she's re-hitting her nachos. I felt like this was a tribute. It felt very, you know, Fame Monster coded. I still don't know what his exact gimmick is coming out of that. But, you know, it was camp. You know, I'm a musical theater girl. I like when dazzle me. You know, I like all that. I still have no idea what that has to do with his actual wrestling, but, you know, I'm going to let him cook. But the actual match, terrible. I never want to see them wrestle again.
Oh my God.
I never want to see them wrestle each other again. That was really awful, but it's good to see Yuya back. I said this, but he looked just like Kento Miyahara when he came back. Like, from the hair, that was the outfit that I'm sure I've seen Kento wear before. And even when he ripped the shirt off, I said, wow, like he's built like him too. I said, this is great. You know, he looked very ace-like. It was, I became a Yuya believer in the G1 because I don't think that he did anything particularly special before then. I wasn't moved by his Joya and TNA, and I also thought that like he was underwhelming when he first came. But G1 really made me a believer, and then he got injured right when I felt like he had started to cook. So I'm excited to see him back. I'm interested to see how far he's pushed up the card. You know, they could wait until the G1, but I don't think that there's any reason to. I think like he's hot right now. I think that they should just go full throttle with him heading out of this. And I wouldn't mind seeing him go pretty far in the New Japan Cup, if not winning it all. I
love the idea that he came out in the dress shoes like he was The Rock that one time when he did the slipping slide.
Yes.
Fucking who was that? He did that to Bulldog, right?
Yeah.
When he did the people's elbow.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this man came out like he's stuck to the gimmick. Like he's like, I'm gonna work in street clothes. I'm gonna make my return in street clothes, which is fine. I thought the match was okay. I didn't have as many issues as you had with it, Lyric. I personally actually thought it was better than the Okan Umino match, but that's just my taste. But the match wasn't anything special one way or the other. It's not like I thought those two matches were like the weakest of the evening personally. But they kind of stuck to the story that was being told. You know, they started out. What was funny was like Taichi is like legit my wife's favorite New Japan wrestler. And I've made it like too much with the wrestling stuff to where she's like kind of tuned out. But every now and again, when Taichi's coming out, she's like, how are things going with my boy? And I'm like, I don't know. She walks out. She's like, where's the girl? And I'm like, they've been broken up for a while. And then she's like, don't you think he should change up the song? He's getting tired of singing the same song. And she's like, he only sang the first verse because after the verse he stopped singing. And then I was like, because this is a blood feud. So he can't focus on the singing. He's got to take the fucking mic down. Even though the verse is still going in the background, everyone can see he's not singing it. And then, then they went off and it was fine. Like the story was great, whatever. Like, it's like you said, Jeremy, the fucking low blows and real low blows, blah, blah, blah. I thought when he hit Sonata with the low blow and then hit the Gato clutch, I thought he picked up the 1, 2, 3. I was like, let's go, but it didn't work out.
Yeah. Also, we forgot to mention that Sonata was also trying to be like Jeff Jarrett with the guitar.
Yes.
Bro. Yeah. And the guitar that they brought out on this night was like, that looked like a guitar that would like, that was a real guitar. Because I play guitar and I can tell the difference between a gimmicked guitar and one that like is real. And the whole body of it was like solid. And you could see the marks where people had actually been strumming. There was no strings on it. And I was like, I hope nobody gets hit with that guitar because that shit's fucking for real. Like,
strong style guitar.
Before the days of
they said Japanese
strong style guitar. That. Yeah. Luckily that didn't happen here. But anyways, match was fine. I don't really have much to write home about it. I'm still worried about the fallout, what's going to happen with Taichi long term. Like Lyric was worried about Shingo long term. I think he's fine, but I'm worried about Taichi. Like
that's fair.
Is he going to have a place in this company a year from now? Is he going to make his way into the G1? I don't know. Like, I don't even think he's not in the fucking New Japan Cup, right?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Isn't he?
Wait, I don't know.
I think he's on the left side.
So.
I don't know. Well,
yeah, he is.
Yeah,
it would serve my argument better if he wasn't.
He actually has a bye in the first round.
he has a bye.
And I think also he performed really well in that play-in tournament that they had last year for the G1. Did we lose anybody? I'm trying to think of because I think Tama Tonga, they were all gone by this year's G1. So I'm trying to figure out if a space will really be open for him.
I doubt it with how many like new guys have returned and the young generation. I don't know, but long term, I just don't see like concrete plans for him. I guess Yuya Uemura returning maybe adds a little bit of validity to just 4 guys, 5 guys, whatever they're going to be long term. I don't know if they're going to fill that 5-guy vacancy, but I don't know. I don't know what to really think of all this because Sonata is not a guy that, and I've said this many times before, I wouldn't invest any more of my time and money into. I think that he's a bust, and maybe that is all this really was a way to return Yuya so we could have him go over Sonata so we can figure out long-term what we want to do with Yuya Uemura at the expense of Sonata and Taichi. And this was just a placeholder. I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't think they have, I don't think that they have plans for like either guy going forward. And at least for like Taichi, you can use him. He'll probably be almost, I don't know, like a mentor role for Yuya, but I don't think that, he'll probably make it to the play-in at least by minimum again this year, the play-in tournament for the G1 if they stay that route. But as for like a real spot, no.
Yeah. We had a question from Wukong 901. The thought on the trajectory Sonata has gone through the last couple of years. Speaker and shoulders guitar is a wild fit.
Oh, and you know what?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, we messed up. Taichi wasn't the one who brought out the guitar. It was Sonata.
That's what I said. Yeah, Sonata. He's trying to be Jeff Jarrett.
And that didn't even match, because why would you bring out an acoustic guitar when you're wearing electric fucking gear on your? I don't know.
Oh, man.
Sonata is, I don't know. This is going to sound so mean, but I think it needs to be said. Sonata is what will happen if they continue to push Shota Umino the way that they have. And I'm so serious about all of it.
You're 100% right.
Sonata is literally like the definition of pushing a guy as a top guy, putting a world title on him, and just continuously putting him in the spotlight without anybody's actual investment or involvement. Sonata is literally like the poster child for that. And I say this as I think Sonata has his place, and I think that if they had let him really keep going on the route that when he first came back, like I said, from injury, he had some really good matches with Zach. I enjoyed his G1 run of just letting him be a wrestler. And I don't know why they just keep over gimmicking him. And it's just so weird. But I don't even think that people dislike it at this point. They just don't care. And I think like that is exactly the current trajectory that Shota's on. And that's, I think that's exactly it.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Because if you look back at the history of Sonata, like also he didn't come from the dojo, but they've given him every opportunity. All those like New Japan Cup finals, the 3-match series he had with Okada, I think that was like 2018, 2019. Like they've given him a shot over and over and over.
Every faction imaginable. Like they've tried literally everything. They have put him in LIJ. They've, put him, started a whole new unit, put him at the head of that. Then they've, he's now in Bullet Club. Like he has they've tried everything with him.
You mentioned they put the world title on him. He got a Tokyo Dome main event. It's like
he got to hold it for a year.
Yeah.
He got to hold the title for a year.
Undefeated in his block in G1.
Yes. Everything you could potentially think of, the type of stats that much better wrestlers would kill for.
Right.
He was given. And that's exactly, that's the type of example that they're currently setting with Shota. Just like, we don't care if y'all don't like him or not. We will still give him the world. Now what?
Right. Yeah. Let's move on here from Mr. Sonata to the IWGP Junior Tag Team title match. We had the Ichiban Sweet Boys, Kosei Fujita, and our good friend Robbie Eagles defeating Roppongi Revice of our good friend Rocky Romero and Yo in 11 minutes and 43 seconds. So Ichiban Sweet Boys capturing the titles at Wrestle Kingdom. Roppongi Revice kind of reforming towards the end of last year and worked their way up to be the number one contenders here. So the first defense here for the Ichiban Sweet Boys in a pretty good matchup here.
Oh, yeah, man. The junior tags on big New Japan shows rarely miss. And this one was just energetic. I keep saying this, but like for people, I feel bad for fans who like only watch AEW because like they have no idea how good Rocky Romero actually is.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And this match was a reminder of how good Rocky is as a wrestler. I think he's so much more well known now. It feels like for his things outside of like the ring, and rightfully so, man. Like he is the forbidden door, but between those ropes, he's still pretty nice. And and especially he means so much to junior heavyweight wrestling. And so I love this. I love his team with Yo. I adore Fujita and Robbie Eagles, and I'm so happy to see them with those belts. I've been waiting on this for a very long time. I think that when Fujita walks in a room, the thing that I think has always set him apart and why I think like he didn't need Excursion and why he's been so successful is because he's always seemed to have a really good grasp on who he is from day one, no matter how young he is. Like he's always seemed to have such a strong sense of identity. He walks in every room like he owns it. His confidence doesn't seem like he's just playing it up, for us. It seems genuine, like it feels real. And Robbie Eagles I love seeing him like essentially doing like a full-time schedule with New Japan. Like he's been killing it. Those two together are awesome. This match as a whole was awesome. And also too, it's nice to see the junior tag division. It's not as deep as as I think a lot of us would like it to be, but it's nice to see us out of that Catch 22, War Dogs, occasional intergalactic jet setters loop that we were trapped in for 2 years. It's nice to see fresh teams, a part of the mix. And so, obviously Ishimori and Robbie X are up next. But it just feels fresh. And so I'm excited. I love that the junior division feels really fresh right now. At least the junior tag division feels really fresh right now. So this was honestly would have been the best match on the card if the stuff after it wasn't absolutely sensational.
Yeah, this was a high-paced, fun, energetic match. I mean, Robbie Eagles almost shattered his ankles in that crazy dive tope through the ropes, and his ankle crashed, and he grabbed it immediately. And I was scared because, a lot of times you see guys that hit the guardrails on dives. I can think of like a TK Orion in Ring of Honor back in like 2016. He did like a moonsault to the outside, totally shattered his whole ankle on the guardrail, and so I was worried for Robbie there.
O'Reilly.
Yeah. So Robbie ended up being fine, just selling, and was able to come back in there to help Vegeta get the win. Vegeta hitting the Abandon Hope cutter on Rocky to get the win there.
Yeah, this was the part of the show where when I mentioned that we were pretty much on pace, we had like a 2-match slump there. But both of those matches still had moments and story that kind of carried them to where there was still a relevancy and a meaningfulness. But this is where we started to go back into like the business end of the portion where like they were procuring the stars. And it wasn't like the greatest junior tag match of all time, but I felt like this was a big step in the right direction, especially for Ichiban Sweet Boys to kind of solidify themselves as the main players in this division for the time being. And the division's wide open for them at this point, especially like with the exodus of the junior War Dogs. It doesn't seem like we're going to be seeing them the former iteration of the War Dogs, which they kind of ruled the roost for like at least the last year and a half. Yeah. And now it's kind of a wide open field. And, I don't know, Catch 22, it seems like things are a little, I don't know, who knows what's going on there, especially with like Francesco Akira kind of taking offense at the idea of TJP, of him having to ask for his permission to challenge for the junior title or something like that. So, things are definitely in flux, but I think that's a good thing. There's turnover, there's new blood that's coming to this division. And I thought this was a solid match.
Yeah, and that post-match angle, Taiji Ishimori comes out and says that, Robbie X will be coming in. Until him and Robbie, we saw them team up in Super Junior Tag League last year. So Robbie X will be coming back to New Japan, team up with Taiji Ishimori to challenge Ichiban Sweet Boys at some point.
Yeah, when he announced Robbie X multiple times, the crowd went mild. No one knew who the fuck he was talking about.
I will say he did definitely say it. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck him up with this one."
Yeah. Robbie
X. He said, "I got something for you," and he's like, "Robbie X," and he's like, I said Robbie X.
I'm about to do it to him. Oh my God.
No one reacted. Like he said it like 3 or 4 times and he was like waiting, like gave the pause. It was great.
I do think so because of that. I think that New Japan could really benefit from, and this is heading into Best Super Juniors this year, really try to bring in like a junior, a really good, like exciting junior, like somebody really exciting and I'm not sure who that person would be, even if it's just for a tour, but like, I feel like Takeshita kind of like added that, like that element of just like something exciting, for the heavyweights. And so I don't know who that person could be. Cause I think a lot of times, I think we saw it last year with like Nick Nemeth and Riddle of just like, they assume like people feel like, oh yeah, they're going to love this. And it's just like, no, like nobody into it. So like I would like to see them, you know, they kind of like opened those doors with Dragon Gate last year. So maybe you could bring in somebody that's really going to excite people, because a lot of times it just falls really
well,
flat.
they're bringing Ninja Mac back, and that might be something. But I mean, if you guys could open the door to, you know, taking all of the political boundaries away, like who's the junior that you would bring in to like reinvigorate the division? You know, who is that? I don't know.
I mean, Mascara Rada, I think, would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
Honestly, because he wrestles literally everywhere in Japan except for New Japan, I think Fuminori Abe would be interesting, you know, and here's the thing. I don't think that current state of Japanese wrestling, I'm not sure that there is like one crazy junior that stands out above the rest. Like this isn't like, you know, the early 2000s to where I feel like, but also at the same time, I do think that there's still some options, or even like, because I've seen even for All-Star Junior Fest, like, you know, they brought in like, you know, the Shun Skywalkers, or, you know, even you have Takeshita now, you could do a little bit of something with DDT, maybe even Mao, like, you know, no, it actually, that is it. It's past time for Mao to do best of the like it is actually past time. I think it should happen this year. Like it's supposed to have been happened. Like we do need that. You know, so I do think like there's a few different, and I'm sure that there's guys who would love to do it, like, you know, from other promotions. But yeah, I think that they need to do somebody actually exciting. Of like, don't get me wrong, I love Rev Pro, and I think that Rev Pro is great, but Rev Pro is still technically an independent promotion. It might be the leading promotion of, you know, the UK, and it's producing great talent, but it is technically an indie. Like I think that they should really start looking around to some of these majors for some of the, like, you know, just a guy, pop the crowd every now and then.
Yeah.
I think there's one option that it'll never happen, because I don't think Tony Khan wants his lighter weight guys to be, you know, pigeonholed as juniors, but I feel like Darby could really do some shit in Japan, honestly.
Yeah, but we've been saying for years. Yeah.
His Noah, like that match he had in Noah, I will say, like, they were like, whoa. And I will say, though, he was like 30, and everybody else in that match was almost like 45 and up. So I will say the bar was very low. He didn't have to do too much to like really pop him. Who all was in there? You had like Marufuji, Sting, Muto, what's his name? You've probably saw the match though. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
I didn't see the match actually, so I don't know who was in that match.
Oh, so it was a 6-man tag. It was for the Muda's last, I think it was his second to last show.
That's right. Muda was in it.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it was Sting, Darby, and Muda versus Marufuji, Akira, and I forgot the last one.
I'm forgetting who the third person was.
It's the guy, the tattoos all over his face and body. He had that really famous match with Undertaker. Yes, Hakushi.
Yeah. Jinsuke Sasaki. Yeah.
Yes.
Shinzaki. I boycotted that match because I just couldn't believe, after all the many years that Sting worked in New Japan, they couldn't get one date on him at all. There's like no way.
I think that was sick. That was crazy.
That was so crazy to me. I'm still butthurt about it. So
his return to Japan was Noah. That was actually insane.
But whatever.
Yeah, we move. But yeah, I think that Darby, the Japanese crowd was really into him, like then, and so I mean, he's a little white man with blonde hair and face paint, and he jumps off shit. They're gonna fucking love him. But, hey, we do have like a little man with blonde hair and makeup, and it kind of Rising Hayato in All Japan looks almost exactly the same. I will say he's an actual junior heavyweight, and you know, I do think that if they could ever open those lines up for communication, I do think that he makes sense as a perfect person eventually. Years, 100%.
And Jeremy, you know what my answer is as far as what they could do to reinvigorate the junior division.
What? Oh, Ishii.
Yep. They need to have Ishii cut a couple pounds, go back down to junior, have that power junior run. That's what.
Is he going to replace Drilla?
Yeah.
He's going to replace all of them is what he's going to do. He's going to be the fucking world champions, what he's going to be.
He has been doing top rope hurricane ranas lately, so.
He's a fucking man. He needs to be junior heavyweight champion.
What a beast.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Oh, man. Well, let's move on to the never openweight title match. We had the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita defeating Boltin Oleg in 11 minutes and 33 seconds. So, Konosuke's first never title defense here. Boltin recently dropping the never 6-man titles, and we know that Boltin had a win over Takeshita from last year's G1, that crazy upset. And here we are. The stage was set for this awesome matchup. What you guys think?
Listen, this is the part of the show, though, like where I forgot that it was like 3 a.m. And it just like, I just felt alive. Like, this is a show where I just start floating. This is a part of it.
You watch the shows live?
This one, yes. I made a point to watch this one. I haven't been, I used to be crazy enough. I was up like watching like house shows live. I was insane. But I don't watch, but now I just try to stay up late for the big shows. And when they said this one, it had a 1 a.m. start time. So I was like, okay, if it was like 4, then maybe I would have thought about it. But like 1 a.m., I said, I could do that. I could stay up till 1. But by this match, it no longer mattered what time it was. I felt alive. Like, and then after this, I was already started to ascend and float, like just inject this in my veins. This was big, meaty men slapping me. It was amazing, down to the most minute details. I really liked their G1 match. But it was just by then, like, what I love about Osaka is, like, I feel like those crowds are always just rabid. Like, they feel like rabid dogs sometimes when they like something. Like, and that type of energy is just so rare in wrestling these days. And they were into these guys. I think Boltin Oleg is just an absolute stud. They have nailed his presentation. But Takeshita, and I don't want to, like, compare him because I feel like a lot of people are already doing that, but he does have that kind of Ibushi nature of like this freak athlete who is just so good at everything. And even like, you know, with the DDT connection, like now the 3 contracts of just like, he shows up in every promotion on every continent, as we saw last week. And with just so much aura. And I know like we use the word a little bit too much these days, but like he is just like the human embodification of aura and just the way that he has just, I think him and New Japan just really fit so well together. He fits the Never style so well and this match wasn't particularly super long, but it did exactly what it needed to do. And I think like both guys come out of it looking like superstars. You know, Boltin, like obviously now they're 1-1. And so you have that anticipation for whatever that third and wherever that third match is. But if that wasn't already great, I was already so high off of life. Then Oila walks out. The grip walks out. The grip walks out. He said, I want you. By this point, I'm screaming. I'm so surprised that the neighbors didn't call the cops on me by this point. This is amazing. This is amazing. I love professional wrestling. By then, I'm just saying, I like just tweeted my little fingers off. Promotion of the year! Promotion of the year! Shooting on his back!
Yes.
just fantastic. This match was everything a meat match is supposed to be. Fantastic.
I loved this match. I really, really, really thought it was just fantastic. And, there's all these questions for so long about, like Boltin Oleg and what he's capable of. And we've seen like little glimpses of his ability, but we haven't really seen him put his feet to the fire to see, like, can he put everything together? It's almost kind of felt like his entire run through the G1 and through the, what was it called prior to that, where he earned his spot in
the playoffs.
Yeah, like the playoffs, like a lot of that stuff felt like kid gloves. Mm-hmm. They kept his match time to a certain limit. They kept the interactions within a certain context. And like, it was very much like on the job learning sort of thing, but it never felt like here's a real test to really see what he's capable of and just let him go. And last week when we previewed this show, we were like, yeah, now's the time. Like, you got him with Takeshita, you got him in this big title match. Like, we really need to kind of see what he could do. And part of that thinking in my mind is like, how does a guy like Oleg Boltin fit into the modern style of professional wrestling? And he answered it emphatically, saying like, I don't need to do what Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay can fucking do, or even what Takeshita can do. I can get by just being an amalgamation of like Stan Hansen and Kurt Angle and throwing a little bit of Brock Lesnar in there. And all he needs to do is just be the fucking best version of what he is and what he's capable of doing. It's kind of like what Paul Heyman has always said, like, accentuate the positives and hide the negatives. And like, that's what he did, is like, he went out there and like showcased his athleticism, his toughness, and his hard hittingness. And you put that in there with a maestro like Takeshita, and they put on a classic. And it reminded me so much of the style of work that like Riki Choshu and like Tenryu and Hashimoto were doing in the 90s, where like it was in your face, in your mouth, like very fast paced, boom, boom, boom. And it's over style of wrestling. Like, I guess we could call that like never, but this wasn't the long drawn out spirit spots where people are like bouncing up and like showing their fighting spirit. This was more like smash mouth wrestling. Like you said, Lyric, like big meaty men slapping meat. This reminded me of like a Vader match. Mm-hmm. And then it was just fucking over. And I was like, oh man, like I made the joke earlier about Drilla like being the world champion. Maybe that'll happen. Who knows? But like, I could actually see Oleg being the fucking world champion, and not even that very far from now, the way that things are going. I'm like, oh man, we've really tapped into something that like we haven't probably seen since like the early 2000s with a Kurt Angle or with a Brock Lesnar, but it's in Japan now, and it's with a guy that speaks fluent Japanese. The sky's the limit.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I thought this match absolutely rocked. And like you mentioned last week, Josh, we were like, all right, here's the time. Like, is Oleg going to show out here? And he absolutely came out here. He grabbed the bull by the horns, and yeah, he was just like a big bull in this match, ramming into Takeshita. Takeshita had to try to work the shoulder over at points of the match to try and slow down the power, throw into the guardrail and towards that spot in the beginning on the outside. And then they got in there. And then, they were just exchanging big moves. Boltin was using the power, the body slams, the side-to-side gut wrench, the kill-up drop kick. Like, he was just being so explosive. Like you said, smash mouth into Takeshita's face. And both guys were working super hard. And Takeshita, best Blue Thunder Bomb in the business. Great.
Not better than Sami Zayn?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Takeshita, he eats up. I'm sorry, Sami Zayn, but
not better than Jun Akiyama. I'm just playing.
And the big top rope superplex. Like, there's so many just great bang, 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 big moves. And then,
bro, when they came off that top rope and the referee jumped up and like, we need to talk about this too, by the way. Clark Connors Is he the best? Is he maybe the best wrestler / commentator that New Japan has had in the last decade?
He was great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like really, 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 really good. And he was like, I saw a board break. I saw a board pipe.
Yeah.
I think you made a really good point, Josh, about like letting him be who he is. And I agree with all the comparisons to the guys that you listed. I think that because the in-ring caliber of New Japan has been so high, I think that a lot of times they kind of like try to force people in the box. And I think a good example of it is kind of like the Shota Zach main event, right? Of trying to do this long, drawn out, New Japan style epic. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for everybody. And I think that when you allowing like a guy like Bolton Oleg to just do him at the best of his ability, I think is going to take him so far. I think that another person like that, honestly, is Yota Tsuji. Like, you don't have to be the best pure wrestler all the time. Take the strengths that you already have and what do you do well? Can you be explosive? Add that in there. You're a big, strong guy, add that in there. But do it if you could do 20 minutes of like some of the best shit that we've seen, you're a top guy. Like that you can fit that role. Like, you'll have somebody else will emerge as the wrestler, of the generation. Somebody else, everybody kind of like has a role to play. But like Bolton Oleg has all the tools. Like, I believe that he will be the next foreign winner of the G1 Climax. And it's probably going to happen a lot sooner than we think. I don't think probably within the next 2, 3, 4 years, maybe even 4, but he might shock us all. But it's very clear they know what they have with this guy, and that's why he's probably been as protected as he has been. Well, like he made his debut at Wrestle Kingdom, for God's sake.
They're like, the one thing we're not going to let this dude do is learn English. That's what
he will probably never get booked on a strong show. Don't ever.
They better have a handler on him that anytime something's like anything English even pops up like in a menu, they just slap that shit out of his hand. Like, keep him away.
Don't even let him learn how to spell AEW or WWE. I'm so serious. Like,
Barry Bloomberry who?
Exactly. But he is the type of guy who can, a lot of people, I think foreigners have been like, after they want to be Stan, right? But he's probably a guy who could like become that beloved cultural figure in Japan as a foreigner. Like, he's a guy who probably who could do that. And while still making the look of the traditional, Japanese heavyweight star, he has all the tools. And I also think that on the flip side of that, I think we are seeing Konosuke Takeshita is the international ace of professional wrestling right now. And I think that he's one of those people, it doesn't matter where you see him, but especially now in Japan, if he's on a card, it's must see. Like, if he's on a show, it's a big show, that it matters. And yeah, these two guys, like even them being in the same place is kind of crazy because I can only imagine what they're going to be doing 5 years from now. Like, not even 5, even a year from now. Because think about like how much they've accomplished over the past year. So this was just amazing in so many different ways.
Yeah, I feel like, Oleg's grown a lot in the last year. And this closing stretch was just so great. You had him hitting the kamikaze on Takeshita for a near fall. And Takeshita gets up, it's a big clothesline for a 1 count. And then he hits a running knee for a near fall. Oleg hits a fireman's carry, then Takeshita slips down and gets a guillotine choke. He locks that in, but Oleg refuses to pass out, and then Takeshita just muscles him up with the Raging Fire, that spinning Falcon Arrow, and then pins him. Just awesome closing finish here.
I just saw somebody post a bumper sticker that says, "Keep honking, I'm listening to American Males."
I need that.
Oh, man. And then, like you mentioned earlier, Lyric, Oiwa comes out, the grip comes out to challenge Takeshita. So we don't know when that's going to happen yet, but that's going to be the next defense for Takeshita before he gets to Windy City Riot.
Hopefully it's after Windy City Riot, so he actually has a chance to win the title. Because if it's before then, there's no way they're taking the title off Takeshita before he faces Tanahashi. So.
100%, I agree, and I think that Oiwa makes perfect sense as a guy to take that title off of Takeshita. And honestly, I'll be honest, I know some people, some real New Japan purists might feel differently, but I don't care. Put Takeshita in the world title picture.
Oh yes,
yeah, yeah. That's why I'm advocating for him to lose these titles, because what's coming up next for the international belt? It's
he's definitely going to drop.
It's Kenny, right?
Yeah, he's definitely dropping.
Yeah, get that title off of him, and then I don't know who the fuck needs to beat him for the other belt. I kind of think it might be Tanahashi, though, and no one thinks Tanahashi's beating him. But I'm like, if Tanahashi beats him in April, then he's free to win the G1 in June. Let's fucking go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be. I think he needs to be in the Tokyo Dome main event next year.
I don't know why. He can win it in Dominion. Let's go.
Yes.
Wait, who needs to beat him in the Tokyo Dome main event?
No, so Takeshita needs to be in the main event in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter who is on the other side of that ring. It just needs to be him.
Just not Umino.
Anybody but him. Anybody but him, actually.
If we're fantasy booking, I think, like, I don't know, David Finlay takes the belt off Goto. Then come June, David Finlay drops that belt to Takeshita, and then Takeshita runs through the G1 as champion. He defends the title in January against, I don't know,
Tsuji.
Who could that against Tsuji? Let's, people would be mad though.
Be a rubber match.
Yeah,
people would be mad though, because if that's the case, then Gabe's on the outs, and people want to see Gabe and Tsuji in the Tokyo Dome again.
However, there's the thing. There's one caveat to this. I think that Gabe should be Tanahashi's retirement match.
Wow, that would be a huge spot for Gabe.
And I mean, think about it, especially after Dynasty, the story's already there.
Yeah.
Like, the story is already there. They've already drawn all the parallels. The story.
I can't advocate for that. He's white.
Well, yes, here's the thing. That is the only reason why I was like scared to tell people that I felt white, because I was just like, Tanahashi having his last match against a foreigner. I think it's a wild concept, especially but that was before the past year of
before he cried on the desk.
And not even just crying on the desk of, let's just be real. When it comes to like these younger guys, there's nobody else. The only other person who made sense for that was Shota. And I would be honest, like that is the only other person that made sense to be Tana's last match. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm sure.
But what about Tsuji?
Tsuji's, I don't think that's Tsuji's story though. Like, that
was his young boy.
Yeah, but I think Tsuji needs to be in the world title match. Like, I think like that's his place. Like, yeah. And I will say, like, Tsuji, I think, as far as everybody has their mountain to climb, right? Like, for some people it was Okada, for some people it was Naito. I think Tsuji's mountain to climb and surpass was Naito, but like, obviously I don't really think that match is never going to be what we want it to be.
All right, we'll belt up Tanahashi, and then he can defend the title against Tsuji in the main event of the Tokyo Dome. It's fine. It's fine. Oh my God. Goto's dropping the belt in April or in March.
They might do it. The thing is,
Tanahashi's going to carry the belt the rest of the year is what's happening.
They might do it, though, which is kind of terrifying.
I mean, who does the booker work for, if not the president of the company? Who's the president of the company?
I mean, listen, Tana won the world belt at Wrestle Kingdom last year. So, I mean, hey, but I do think, I know it sounds crazy, but it doesn't sound as far-fetched. And honestly, even fans, I think if you did a poll right now and you asked, which of these guys you put Tsuji, Umino, Gabe Kidd, You're all on a list, and you say vote for the person that you want to be his last opponent. I think Gabe wins.
Yeah.
Even with Japanese fans, I think 100% Gabe wins.
I think it needs to be Okada, and Okada needs to come in and beat that ass again.
Oh, man. We had a question here from Def Triangle 720. It says, with Bolton's performance against Takeshita, do you think he should be a contender to hold the world title? He doesn't have a distinct character that makes him stand out outside of Olympic Haas.
Not yet, but one day. I think that he is also somebody who should spend 2025 in Neverland. Him and Drilla could really be like a really good core for that division, I would say, going forward.
Yeah.
Him, Drilla, whenever, when you get Hanare back, I think that they could really be a good young core, because let's just be real. Just about every title's contenders need to be rebuilt. Like the global division, they need like new contenders in that picture. Like the TV title needs new contenders in that picture. Even like we were talking just earlier with the junior tag titles. And so I think that the new nucleus of the Never division, you have Bolton Oleg in there, you have Oiwa in there, you have Drilla in there. I think that's a really solid core to have.
Here's a stupid question. What does bars mean?
It's the snow leopard. It's like the Kazakhstan or whatever for the snow leopard that's in his video.
Okay, because I know you've explained it to me before, but I was like, what the fuck is this? Is bars the name of his team in the past, or like, is he a big fan of like spoken word poetry, like bars? Like what is this thing? Like what is this?
Yeah, it's that snow leopard.
Bars.
But I think the real question is it Bolton Oleg or Oleg Bolton?
It is Oleg Bolton.
That's his real name.
That's his real name, but he has taken on the stylization as
Bolton
Oleg because of the way that they announced the Japanese last name first and then the first name, and then I don't know. I guess he's just
all right, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, he's Brian. Yeah, Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryanson. Remember when he first left WWE and James was calling him Daniel Bryanson for a while because
a lot of people were doing
it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, let's move on here to the tag team title match. LIJ, Hiromu, and Naito defeat the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, in 9 minutes and 48 seconds to become the new champions. Also, this was a build from Wrestle Dynasty, from the three-way title match there, and then Hiromu and Naito spent all of the road to beating up on Hanma and random partners to get themselves ready, and here we were.
Not only did Naito grab the tag rope, but he only had to hold on to it for about 9 minutes. So that's really not that big a deal. Do we want to talk about the match, or do we want to talk about the fact that Naito can't Destino anymore?
Well, that's part of the match. So
I mean, we've been talking about that for the last 2 years, right?
and for the Naito, apologists out there, they were like, well, he wasn't supposed to hit it anyways. Well, he fucked up the not supposed to have hit it in the first place. The way he was not supposed to hit it was not the way that he did it. Like, it was wrong the way that he didn't hit it.
Naito trying to do Destino and Tanahashi trying to do the high fly flow, the jump over, same thing.
Bro.
It makes me feel like I don't want to keep podcasting past like 40 because I might start fucking up shit, People are gonna be like, I miss the old young boy,
Oh man.
I would like to say I just think that the Young Bucks are the greatest tag team of all time because
they absolutely are.
Because nobody else would have been able to get that much out of Naito. And I truly believe that. But honestly, this match was really a lot of fun. Was it as good as the matches that preceded or went after? No, but I think it kept the energy high, and I think it kept the energy really high for the crowd. people were into it. I think the Bucks look great. Matt Jackson is jacked. Like, I know he had said, like, he's been working on his fitness, but, like, he was not lying. Like, they look huge.
You know what's funny about that whole thing is, like, Matt is in much better shape than, like, average Joe Schmo on the street.
Yes.
And he's in much better shape than he has ever been. So because we're kind of comparing it to his past, we're like, he's in incredible shape. But compared to, like, most wrestlers, he's not anywhere near where they are, but we're like, fuck, this dude is on a different level right now.
On the gas.
When you've been following them for so long, I'm just like,
he's never looked like this.
Yeah, never looked like this. And that's like, it was like, you could see half the timeline. It was just like, what are they eating? Or is it, oh my gosh.
And because he's natty, like, he's not injecting any gas or anything. You're like, this dude is fucking doing it. But, like, when you compare him to, like, most wrestlers, like, he's not even close. But we're like, fuck, he's jacked.
I was like, you know what, though? But it makes me even more excited because I was like, oh, they're getting ready for the Hurt Syndicate. So, like, that should be interesting because I was like, they're going to get ragdolled. They're going to look so small. They're still going to look incredibly small, by the way. Like, they're still going to look really small.
That will be very interesting because I don't even know, like, do the Hurt business, like, are they willing to do business? You know what I mean? Like, business is in the name of their fucking gimmick, but I don't know if they're, like, willing.
I mean, I think the Bucks should lose. So, I mean,
probably.
Yeah, I think the Bucks should lose. Unless you have a guy ready to be Shelton's new tag team partner while Lashley does some single stuff. Yeah, especially if it happens anytime soon. I think, like, the Bucks should lose. But I think, like, they were just jumping out the gym for this match. Like, they're just flying everywhere, and like they kind of, like, did it so much they kind of, like, distracts you that Naito spent at least 5 out of 9 minutes out on the outside. Like, it really distracts you. And so, I truly believe that this tag run has helped everybody involved. I think that clearly it's something that Hiromu and Naito have always wanted to do, and, like, it's something that's special to them. It's preserving what's left of Naito's mobility. It's allowing Hiromu to get some of these heavyweight accolades that that he's always been interested in doing as a junior. But also, it's helped the junior heavyweight division and the heavyweight division by moving these two guys out of the way to allow other new stars to really emerge. And plus, it's keeping the business people back happy because you still have them featured prominently and they're still selling tons of merch. I think that this is honestly, I mean, if Hiromu's cool with it, I think that this is what Naito needs to be doing until retirement. Some guys are able to, have the big singles matches, their retirement match. Some guys have to go 6-man tag route. And I think that that's where we are.
He's in his Baba 6-man tag team.
Yes, his retirement match should be a 6-man tag.
So this tag team with Hiromu is him teaming up with Andre the Giant, is what we're saying right now.
Exactly.
Oh,
if the Hurt Syndicate needs a pin eater, I know that there's a lot of speculation about a fourth member. Cedric Alexander just got fired, so there's probably some room there for a pin eater if they really need it.
I think that there should be. I'm not into it for the fourth member. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not.
I understand why people aren't, but I bet you that's who it will be.
No, I don't doubt that. I just think that, especially for TV time, don't get me wrong, Hurt Syndicate are super over. Shelton Benjamin is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He's a South Carolinian. How could he not be? But at the same time, because you're taking up TV time and you're, like, holding titles, I do think that part of that run should be at least to elevate some type of young talent. Mm-hmm. And Cedric is great, but I'm going to be honest, like, I really don't even know what he's capable of outside of a WWE setting in 2025. And I think, like, there's just so many other guys who could really benefit from that position. Like, I think, and I'll even say this from like a black wrestling perspective. Hurt Syndicate is, like, the only faction of, like, black world champions and Hall of Famers. whoever takes that role should probably be like the heir apparent.
Someone that could be.
Yeah, passing. It should be almost like a passing of the torch. That's not going to happen with Cedric, you know. And I'm not one of those people who's going to say like, oh, it should be Kevin Knight, because like I don't think we should fantasy book people who are signed to other companies.
Well,
Would he fit perfectly in that role? 100%. I will say, I'm not going to lie, he would be perfect fourth member. But I think that there's other guys who can fit too. But I can see why. Don't get me wrong. If you just need a pinator, cool, fine, do it. And I
think that's what they need is a pinator personally.
Yeah, I'm not even saying don't sign him. You know, I'm not even saying don't sign him. But as far as like, wouldn't be my pick. It just would not be my pick.
I mean, when you got a company that's pushing Cope and Jeff Jarrett at the top.
And I will
Cedric Alexander's pretty young, relatively speaking. He's got years on him when you put him in the grand scheme of things. No, I'm just playing, but
no, you're right. That's honestly what scares me. That's what scares me, because like this, like what are we doing, man? Jeff Jarrett. If we broke down the numbers, Jeff Jarrett probably got more TV time in the month of January than almost any other wrestler on American wrestling television.
Yeah, right up there with Roman.
He might have gotten more television time than Roman Reigns in January. That's crazy.
Shout out to the Tunnel Talk girls on this podcast network, because they were the ones that interviewed Nicholas and Matthew, and they advocated that we get the nipple freed, and it only worked 50% this time, but they were at least successful to get one of them to get rid of the the tank top.
Real journalists.
Real journalism. No, I thought this match was great. Me and Jeremy last week, we went on a over under 4 stars. I think we were a little under, but I'll take 3 3/4 in 2025 when it comes to Tetsuya Naito. And I thought this was fine. I thought the crowd was happy to see the title change. They were happy to see the Young Bucks return. And this was a money match that everybody kind of wanted. And now it's happened. The action was fine. It wasn't, when we're talking about the business end of the show, the top 4 matches, this was probably the lowest performing, but it was still very entertaining. The only real drawback you could point to is like the one botch with the Destino that I mentioned there. But like, I don't know, I guess we're forgiving Tanahashi of his crimes. I guess we got to kind of do the same thing for Naito. Yes. But at the end of the day, the match was really, really good. And I thought the finish was a little anticlimactic, but it sort of needed to be to kind of give the Bucks the out that like, there was just perfect timing, fate aligned, and LIJ was able to put the pieces together on that night to pick up the 1, 2, 3. Now they got the belts. And like you mentioned, Lyric, like on the business end of things, they're going to be able to headline shows. They're going to be able to defend those titles against other Japanese tag teams. I don't know who they've got lined up right now, but I'm sure they'll figure something out. The Bucks, we were critical of the build to this match because they literally contributed nothing over the past month and a half or 2 months. But at the end of the day, like that's not really what this was about for those guys. This was sort of a nostalgia run. They were able to come back, perform in front of the Japanese audiences. And who knows, maybe one day they will be back. If, the reports are to be believed, they were pretty happy with their treatment and experience in Japan. And like, maybe if the money's right and the timing's right, we'll see them again. But, for the time being, we got new champions, and that's exciting. And I'm hoping, with my major disappointment that occurred on January 4th, that match between Hiromu and Naito that was one of the most underperforming matches in the history of the top end of Wrestle Kingdom. And I'm really hoping that the long-term story and the play out of what this is something to lead to the dissolution. It doesn't even need to be LIJ entirely, but something needs to come about between these two guys and their long-term trajectory and how their relationship disintegrates through the course of this title reign. I need there to be some sort of breaking point between these two people. I need there to be a story there. And that's what I'm really hoping for in the long term of things.
I think also too, I'm not sure if I'm like for full on disintegration, but I do believe that LIJ as a faction is at a crossroads, and each individual guy has very different individual stories happening for them, or a lack of stories happening for them. And I do think it needs to be addressed. And I don't think that New Japan has done a good job of addressing with, like, you know, those tension. I think the dynamics have completely shifted of the faction of you kind of like have now Tsuji feels almost kind of like the centerpiece. And it feels like, you know, now Hiromu and Naito are like the tag guys, and you have like, you know, Shingo don't know what he's doing. And then there's Bushi and okay. You know, and like, you know, Teton comes in, you know, for all the junior tours. But for this to be the most popular faction in New Japan, I'm not sure if we really have a good, clear understanding of like the inner workings of their relationships and like their personal motivations at this point, particularly like for somebody like, you know, Naito, who was at the tail end of his career. So I really want to see them. And plus that LIJ versus LIJ 6-man tag last year was so good. I would love to really explore like what these relationships, like, you know, look like, but also too, because of Naito and Hiromu's popularity and obviously how loved they are by the audience, I would like to see this used as an opportunity to really rebuild the tag division. I don't think that there should be no reason why World Tag League this year isn't good. And not because of them and not because of Naito and Hiromu, but because of their popularity. Bring in tag teams from all over the world. Like, you know, like I think the Bucks is a great start. Even having them, like, you know.
They'll never work.
No, they're not. But I'm just saying, like, for just bringing in tag teams as a whole, to kind of just make tag team title matches matter. You know, like I think for
you weren't happy with the Philippes?
No. I think we had it for a while to where they had the Bishamon button of just anything break the glass, Bishamon. But now, hey, Big Goto's world champ. So now you have to actually give a damn. I would say in some of your booking, you don't have that crutch anymore to fall back on. Then, you know, you had Hikuleo and El Phantasmo. You don't have that crutch anymore. You don't have you lost Aussie Open, you know, a few years ago. So it really, this more than anything should be a time to really rebuild this tag division, make tag team matches matter, because honestly, junior tag division is lapping anything that the heavyweight division has done on purpose. Like, I think that there's been a lot of great heavyweight tag matches, but they're typically preview tags of different singles guys like pushed together rather than actual tag teams. Yeah. So this was a glimpse in what the tag division could be, you know, and I think that Naito and Hiromu, listen, they don't have much, guys. They have 2.5 knees between them. But what they do have that I don't think that other tag champs and other World Tag League winners before them have had over the past few years is star power. And so it's time to use that to the best that you possibly can.
Yeah.
She said make tag team wrestling great again.
Yes, correct. That's exactly what I said. Correct.
We had a question from Rambones. He said, who would you like to see Naito and Hiromu work with? Please tell me we're not going to have to watch them work Gallows and Anderson.
Well, you know, they're bringing back Fale. They're bringing back
Chase Owens,
former World Tag Team Champions. You know what I'm saying?
My dream, and this is also very dependent, it might not happen, but I've been wanting to see the Saito brothers.
That would be so sick.
I want to see it really badly. That is what I want.
You're setting yourself up for so much disappointment, though. You want all these All Japan acts to come over, like.
I know, but here's the thing. I think, listen, and I'm not even saying that the match would be great. I think it'd be at least good. I think that would be the most riveting 3.5 of my life. I think they're gonna have
3.5 plus.
Listen, if I get the full 3 3/4, I might faint, and if I get a 4, I might die. If I could get, that'll be the most riveting 3.5 of my life. And here's the thing: the Saito brothers, I think that they want more. No, it's not even a thing. I know they want more big opportunities. Like, it's very clear. Like, their popularity in Japan is like rising, and like they're making music now. Like, they're going full Crush gals. Like, they gonna start
doing dance numbers and going. Who's the boy band from South Korea?
BTS.
Yeah, they're gonna go full BTS. Start doing fucking concerts in the ring.
No, like, but it's very clear. Like, they want to be like that. Those bigger stars, and honestly, to be quite until they wrestle in New Japan and like at least do a World Tag League or something like that, I do think like there's a ceiling cap. And so I don't know, maybe it happens. I do have more confidence that it could happen now with how big that they've been going lately. But that is the dream. But if we have to be realists, boo. I want to see the Hurt Syndicate.
We hurt people.
I think that, people. Forbidden Door, guess what? You can't really get a big singles match out of Naito, unfortunately. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what my dream is. My dream match when it comes to LIJ, get them against Edge and Christian. We're going to find a way. We're going to find a way to get ENC back together, baby.
Ooh, I like that. Well,
we're going to do a 5-minute pose in the Corkin Hall. You know what I'm saying?
TLC.
I really like that.
A table ladders desk match between LIJ and ENC.
They were supposed to be, I think that the goal before Cope got injured was for them to be back together by Wembley. Like, I think like that was the match. Like, there were a few theories that the intended all-in match was supposed to be Bucks versus ENC. Like, that was where, but then, the injury happened. So like, hopefully, but I'm gonna be honest, I love Cope and everything, but I'm ready for him to grab that tag rope.
Me too.
Yeah.
We were at the pay-per-view in Orlando, and at the end of the night when everyone was freaking out about Edge, I was like, y'all love Edge like this? This is crazy to me. I never seen people were freaking out, and I was like, it's Edge, bro.
I was at Wrestle Dream when he debuted, and so that was amazing. And I wanted, like, I'm so glad. I love seeing him. Like, it's so great to see him like still wrestling at this stage in his career. He's had some really great matches, but I'm not trying this. I've seen you win enough world titles for a lifetime. Like, we good, bro. Like, I grabbed that tag rope.
The funniest shit is like, so James and Rich stopped watching wrestling for years and years and then came back around like 2012, 2013. And they were like, they had missed because Edge had already retired. Mm-hmm. So when they heard like the lore, they were like, Edge, the tag team wrestler, is a 14-time former world champion. Like, he was the leader of SmackDown. I don't understand what's going on right now. Like, what? The guy from the Brood, the third vampire, that's the dude.
Yeah, I don't know. It come with a spear. It come with rated R. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Hey, 06, 07, those were some wild times, man.
Now, I started watching wrestling literally in 2006. So like that was he was my entire childhood favorite wrestler.
Oh,
like,
06?
Yeah.
Him and Ric Flair? The TLC match on Raw.
that was actually pretty good
that's an incredible match.
Like, forget that. I was a kid watching him make out with Vicky Guerrero. Like, traumatizing stuff was happening, man.
My SmackDown. Yeah. Wild times.
That was formative for me. I don't know.
Yeah, those were my formative years. Sick stuff.
Oh man. We also had a question from Def Franco 720. It says, with Naito and Hiromu as the tag champions, do you think New Japan can play out the reign the same way they did with Okada, Tana, and Ishii's trios run?
They could.
Yeah.
This reminds me a little bit of during the pandemic when we had not mega aces, but we had golden aces, and we had what was Taichi and Zach's?
Dangerous Techers.
Yeah, we had Techers and we had Golden Ace, and they sort of like ran the tag division. And this is similar in some respects because we have two major single stars that are, mashed up for the time being, and they're kind of having to carry the tag division. And I don't expect it to be a long-term thing, but hopefully they find some good opponents for them to work with for the next, 6 months.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the harder thing. I feel like with the trios run, there's a nonstop of trios you can throw at Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi. And like you mentioned, Josh, Golden Ace and Dangerous Techers, you had those two kind of tentpole teams that were able to rotate in and out. And right now, there's just not that other team that can really dance with Naito and Hiromu. I mean, you're going to throw Tenkozy out there. You're going to throw Great Bash Heel out there.
What you could do is treat it open weight and get some heavyweight junior tag teams from different, different groups together, because I'm pretty sure that Francesco Akira is not winning this junior title. So he'll be free. Team him up with, Jeff Cobb or fucking, Okan. There we go. That's a great match.
I agree. I think also, too, with the nature of the Hiromu Naito team, because that they are major single stars, I think it kind of makes it, I don't want to say easier, but it opens up the playing field for who can challenge them. I don't think these have to be established teams. I think it can be two guys aligning themselves. Just maybe they might have old beef with Hiromu. Maybe they might have old beef with Naito. It could be, I think it could really be anything that they want it to be. I think that they could really do something so special with this. And so just don't be boring.
Who the one team is that can't be those people that challenge and lose?
Yeah.
TMDK.
Oh, yeah. Correct.
Because if they come in and they fucking get beat by a junior and old ass Naito, they're done. They're cooked.
And they get beat by if Shane Ace gets pinned off a botched Destino, I might end it all.
If Mad Mikey Nichols gets wrapped up by the Hiromu roll and pinned for the 1, 2, 3, he's done. That's it.
Getting pinned by Daryl. Oh my God.
Take their jerseys, sit there out the group, send them packing.
Now a version of that match that I'd like to see is Hartley Jackson teaming up with Robbie Eagles. Let's go. That's a great match.
Yo, let's get Hartley Jackson and Bad Dude Tito.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
if they team up, they're winning the fucking straps. Let's go. White man on top.
Yes.
Listen, no, I've been waiting for Tito to get a full Japan tour for the longest. So listen, I don't care how I get it. And even if he has to stare up at the lights after,
I know. I saw that man on OnlyFans. We need to save him. We need to get him off of that life. He needs to get the goal.
Wait, seriously? I'm asking for research purposes.
No, for real.
them bills be due. He gotta do something.
I respect it, man.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, Zach said he's coming back soon, so hopefully he does show up pretty soon in New Japan.
I mean, Zach, he's a former tag team world champion multiple times over.
You know what? I would be honest, and I want to say this with love. I love Zach, but a lot of the best matches from his reign were tag matches. He had several.
You mean as champion?
Yeah, as world champion.
Yeah, that's true.
He had several excellent. On preview tags, undefeated. 4.5s. He had some excellent tag match. He had some excellent defenses too. I think the King match was great.
Yeah,
but tag wise, yeah,
bro, I went 4 3/4 on the Cork and Hall match against who was that?
Ishii.
Umino and Ishii, where I was like, it's one of the best tag team matches of the whole year.
That Zach and Oiwa team is nasty. Him and Oiwa together.
They were the MVPs of World Tag League.
Ogawaism. That's what it is. It's Ogawaism. It is Ogawaism.
Yes.
That is, I think they should honestly name that. That should be their team name, honestly, Ogawaism. But no, I would love to see. I know he probably doesn't want to be slotted as a tag wrestler. And I don't think he would be by challenging, but yeah, grab that tag rope. Not permanently though.
Yeah.
Not permanently though.
All right, let's move into the semi-main event, IWGP Global Heavyweight Title Match. The Gene Blast Yota Tsuji wrestling the Madman Gabe Kidd to a double knockout in 21 minutes and 42 seconds. And I thought this match was just absolutely incredible. It's one of the best built matches on the tour. So Tsuji coming in, winning the title from Finlay at Wrestle Kingdom, defending against Jack Perry at Wrestle Dynasty, and then Gabe Kidd coming in from that incredible Kenny Omega match at Wrestle Dynasty, and these guys kind of being two of the top young guys and their history in the dojo together as young lions kind of all played out on the road too. And this was a very personal, very important match. You know, they built it as the future of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and yeah, they went out here and definitely delivered. What do you guys think about the match?
This match, what I loved about it, well, one of the things I loved about it, and it was similar to the Kenny Omega match in the sense of Gabe now has this ability to captivate a crowd from start to finish, not even just what happens within the ropes, but the second he came out, it's like a whole new world was created. Like the energy was absolutely insane. You know, he walks out like, you know, now people are looking for the lion mark on his shorts. Mm-hmm. And then he's standing with the crowd, like you could tell it, big fight feel, like literally big fight feel. Then by the time Tsuji comes out, he rips off the jacket, shows the trunks. Everybody says, "Oh! Like we have thigh meat, y'all."
That's called Okada-ism is what that's called.
You know, then they stand across from each other in the ring. Like it felt, honestly, it's one of those things you forget about the belt. You forgot about the global heavyweight title. It felt like the lion mark was on the line. And what I also love about this match is how messy it is. A lot of those spots, thank God they ended up going well, but they looked disgusting. Like they were messy, but you can tell the desperation to genuinely carry the company. And I think that for me, and I think I said this like 2 years ago, it felt like they had been putting these guys in a position to like keep facing each other, but it felt like there was no passion behind it. Like there was no fire. The G1 was a good example. Like you put all the young guys in one block, but you're waiting for somebody to just take the mantle. And I felt like this match was the perfect embodification of that, of like, they just took it, and it felt like they were on the same page, and just, it felt like a classic New Japan match. And I think it was the first time that we saw a classic New Japan match with two of the young guys, of like being able to carry the spirit without a Goto or a Kenny coming back, or, one of these guys. It just felt like the spirit of New Japan, why you fell in love with this company, why you fell in love with these matches. Even at the end, after, the double knockout, the crowd, they're still going crazy. They're ramming at each other's foreheads like bulls. The Shin Nahan chants, like, were crazy. Like, that was insane. Like,
I've never heard that.
Yeah, that was wild.
I've never heard any Japanese, New Japan, any audience chant Shinihan. Like ever. Never heard that. Never. That's crazy.
And I think that was one of the things about it too, of it goes back to kind of like what we were saying about Shota earlier, of just now the bar, it's not even just set so high. It's in a completely different world of where you are, of just, that's, the fans now know what they want. And I think for a while, people didn't really know what they want because they couldn't see it. But now they know this is the standard. Like, they want somebody who is genuinely putting the company on their backs. Like, like fans are really identifying with that lion mark pride again. And it's just like, it doesn't even just go for Shota, not just for the young guys, but I think like of even, I don't want to say it, it's like I said, I love Zach, right? But I think even kind of like to the Goto stuff of people are identifying really, really, really strongly right now with people who they feel have embodied the company. And I think Goto is also one of those people who, even without winning, has always felt like the soul of New Japan. And like people are trying to get back to the soul of New Japan. And like they see it in those two guys. And they, and it was crazy to kind of like get that same energy from both them. And then you get it from Goto, somebody who's like, 20 years their senior almost. It's just one of those things of this was probably the most impactful match in New Japan, I would say, this decade. Like as far as significance, yeah.
To me, when I was watching this felt like the match from last year where we saw Hinare and Gabe Kidd go to the double knockout in Cork and Hall, and everyone's like, this is the reinvigoration of the Never style, that whole thing. Not saying that they stole the flow beat for beat, but like that match was so significant for a certain sect of the fan base and the audience, but like it didn't catch that greater feeling amongst like those who are on the outside with New Japan, those who are that are lapsed fans and things like that. There are similarities between the style of work that was there, and then you can kind of compare and contrast what happens when you have, and this is no slight on Hinare or even Gabe Kidd where he was a year ago, but like when you have two guys that are hot, that people are invested into and impassioned about following, the January 4th shows and the 5th show, and the trajectory that they're on, and sort of like the setting the table for what this match was meant to be, and to see it all play out. You can take the same style of work that was done a year ago in that match, and as much impact as it had, this was even further than that, just because of the principles that are involved and the storytelling that was laid out prior to that. Even though, idiotic fans want to be like, there's no stories in this company. There clearly are. There's through lines. And I thought this was excellent. If I thought that the Never style match that happened earlier in the night was similar to like a Riki Choshu match, this was like a Hashimoto Tenryu match. Like this was so fucking hard hitting, and these guys just going to bat, and to see the sort of different stylistic approaches between Gabe Kidd and what he represents and his version and vision of what New Japan is. And in some ways it's kind of a throwback. It's an encapsulation of like Shibata and, the hard hitting style of so many predecessors. And then you kind of look at Tsuji, and Tsuji's sort of like, he's got a lot of that Naito in him. He's got a lot of that Nakamura in him. He's got a lot of the Lucharezu sort of influences, and it, that harkens back to Gran Hamada and his passing and everything that's there, and sort of the elevation. It's like these two key components going head to head and amalgamating, and they're really like pushing the art to a new level. And then to hear the crowd like so invested in these characters, and we were really dumbfounded going into the match, like, what are they going to do? The booking, blah, blah, blah. Who's going to win? What's, and for them to go to the double knockout, which, Jeremy, I'm sure you'll elaborate a little bit more. I didn't love the execution of the double. I felt like Tsuji pulled a little bit of a Hogan at WrestleMania, 6, kicking out at 3.1. But at the same time, this is what it needed to be. It needed to be a match where these two guys come to a non-finish. Everyone loves it. The work speaks for itself. And then who knows later on down the line, whether that's this year or even maybe a year or two from now, it kind of reminds me of Tanahashi and Omega after the first time that they like wrestled at New Beginning. And then it wasn't like another year and a half or 2 years before we actually got the big Wrestle Kingdom match between them. We could be seeing something like that between these two guys.
100%. I think also too, I really agree with what you were saying. Like it really felt like Gabe isn't a musketeer, but he felt like one in the sense, like this felt very kind of like Shibata versus Nakamura as far as like stylistically. And I think this is the first time that I've seen a match happen in recent New Japan history that didn't have to deal with somebody who was already an established, like, best in the world caliber wrestler, where I saw fans immediately telling other fans, like, hey, I know you haven't been watching New Japan for a while. Like, I know, like, you may not have seen like this in a while, but you need to watch this match. You need to see these guys. And I think, like, it's that type of word of mouth marketing that I think that New Japan has been missing for a very, very long time. Of, you can have as many collaborations or, you know, with all these organizations as you want. Like, you can match graphics, posters, but that genuine word of mouth is what really made New Japan, you know, global, you know, at a certain point in their history. And so this was a return of that. Like, I just saw so many people were just like, no, you have to see this. You have to see it. It felt must see. It felt like you had to be there. And it was just a level of urgency that I think that we've just been waiting for a long time. It felt like everything clicked into place.
Yeah, this match was just absolutely incredible from the opening bell. I mean, these guys are just throwing big bombs at each other. And like Josh was mentioning, it was just so hard hitting. And the one point of the match where, like, Tsuji chops Gabe so hard, and Tsuji just stares at his hand like, yeah, the power came from here, and knocked that soul out of you. And it was just so crazy. And also, you throw back to their Young Lion days, and Tsuji has Gabe in the Boston Crab at one point, and he has to fight to the ropes. And the fans, big pop, and when Gabe got to the ropes, they were really behind Gabe in this matchup here. And the big spot where Gabe did the big lariat off the top rope to Tsuji was nuts. There was so many incredible spots. Tsuji with the curb stomp and the power bomb, and Gabe catching Tsuji off of a Gene Blast into a pile driver. And once again, the big Cobra Twist spot, which got a huge reaction when he did it to Kenny at Dynasty, and got another great reaction here. And again, it's kind of going back to the roots, going back to Antonio Inoki, and again, kind of showing that stylistic difference where, like, I do feel like, yeah, Gabe is more of that. He's actually the more traditionalist. I feel like he's more about that, that true strong style, that hard hitting, that submission base. And I feel like Tsuji is that more of, like, yeah, that Tanahashi, that Naito, Nakamura, that more kind of flashy character.
The Lucha Inspo.
Yeah, Lucha Inspo, the Lucha Rezu, the kind of the flashiness, that more kind of jumps off the page at you a little bit more as a personality, as a star. And yeah, we saw that kind of intermix in what they were doing here. But at the end of the day, I mean, they both want the same thing. They want a greater future for New Japan Pro Wrestling. They brought that fighting spirit, the incredible near falls, the big strikes. It was just, the crowd was just so hot. We mentioned the Shinihon chants. It was just awesome. And then, yeah, you get towards the end of the match where Tsuji hits the Gene Blaster, but they're both down, and Red Shoe starts counting, and, you know, it gets to 9 seconds. And this is what kind of Josh was mentioning, where I kind of agree with him too. It's like, so yeah, he hit the Gene, you know, he gets to 9, and Tsuji, he's wobbling up, and I think he's up at this point, and I'm excited. I'm always getting up. You know, they're gonna keep going. Then he falls back down. They call it. I'm like, oh man, this didn't come off as well. I'm like, he clearly, to me, I don't know. He was clearly up. Like, he should have not gone up that much. They should just.
If he went up that high and was doing the stanky leg the way that he was, how does that not break the count? Especially when we've been trained as wrestling fans for so many years that, like, when they reach a certain point, you see them go to 9 and then they stop. And they're not all the way up, but they're like halfway up, and they're like, that's enough. But all of a sudden, Red Shoes isn't going to call it when the dude's on 2 feet and he's wobbling. Come on.
I think another thing, it just further reinforces for me, like, the match as I agree with you all were saying, but, like, the match as a whole further reinforces my theory, not even theory, but my fantasy booking of, can you honestly say that there's somebody else who embodies New Japan more than Gabe to be Tana's last match?
Me.
Come on. Well, yes, but I mean, they can't afford you. They can't afford you.
No, I'm just playing. No, that's a good point.
Is that like, and here's the thing, don't get me wrong, tradition and everything, right? Like, I get it. Like, a foreigner being his last match, like, that's not what anybody would have guessed 2, 3, 4, or 5 years ago. But where we are now, and I think that's the thing, we have to be honest about the New Japan that we have now. And I think like that's probably why it took so long to usher in a new generation, because I feel like so many people are focused on how it's supposed to be, and it's supposed to be these people, and it's supposed to be this chosen person. But that's not always how it ends up. And I don't think that there's anybody better than Gabe, honestly. And if there was, they would have emerged by now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. So post-match, we talked about, they're still doing the headbutts post-match, and they're ringing the bell, and they're kind of doing their thing. And then the House of Torture comes out and jump in the ring, and they're beating down Tsuji. And then the lights go out, and Evil walks out, and Dick Togo, they're wearing the plain black T-shirts, and making you think, oh, what's going on here? And they come out and they push, House of Torture off, and they're helping Tsuji up, and the crowd's like, oh, and then of course they jump Tsuji. It was all a ruse, and House of Torture still together. Narita hits the double cross on Gabe Kidd. They beat up Gabe Kidd, and Evil gets on the mic and essentially is saying that no longer are War Dogs and House of Torture and Bullet Club together. Like, House of Torture is the real Bullet Club, and War Dogs, you're out. And
the funniest shit, right? So I watched this entire show spoiled. Unfortunately, my week was crazy. I didn't have time. And I knew Rich had already watched this, but I forgot that I gave him my login information, right? So when I go in to watch shit, you know how like when you watch something and
it's not finished all the way, or whatever.
It's not fully finished. Tell me why this man, Rich, turned the fucking file off right when Evil fucking... He watched the whole match the whole way through, and he was messaging me. He's like, this, because he knew I was spoiled. He's like, this match is incredible, 5 stars, blah, 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 blah. I turned the shit on. He turned it off as soon as Evil came.
Listen, I gotta respect it.
I was dying.
That's hilarious.
I think it was so funny too, because there's been so many rumors of like Evil's going to go to WWE. Evil's going to go to WWE. Here's the thing: I never pay stock into any of those rumors unless it's somebody that I would rather not see. So I allowed myself to believe it. I said, oh, well, I agree with Racers doing what's best for them. Like, this is why we have multiple companies. I'm so glad, so I said, fuck. Oh.
When Tamatonga and the rest of GOD left, you said, God, I've seen what you've done for others. I wish you would do this for me.
I said, I just really support people doing what's best for them, and I'm
Want a man have a good life?
Him and EO, it's gotta be tough,
I just want you to do what's best for you and your relationship, and I think that's just so great, guys.
It's so important.
It's so important, because you're humans before wrestlers first. we need to, hey, and
we need to support Watanabe.
It's going to be hard, but I'll manage. I don't know what we're going to do without you, but oh man, so like to see this, it was like 29/11s, man. It was like I just. But you know what? At least Evil did give the good news that also not going to WWE is David Finlay, and I was like, okay, well, all right, man. But y'all really had me in the first half, bro.
Here's the funny thing with that whole thing. We had been told, and not that we don't talk to people in the office like too often or anything, but like we hear stuff, and like I was told, point blank, they were like, all the white dudes from War Dogs, they're all re-signed. And this was like in like late December. So when the news started coming out recently that like Finlay was up in the air, I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've ever heard something that was false. And like, certainly people make mistakes, but we heard he was like done, totally locked down 100,000%. Like he signed to the company, and we heard that in December. So I was like, I don't know, but you would think Sean Ross Sapp knows more than us, right? Like, but at the same time, like, it wouldn't be the first time that the media has been worked by a person like David Finlay, especially around like contract season.
Yeah. I think especially also too, and this is no offense to anybody, but when it comes to New Japan or foreign contracts specifically, a lot of like American media doesn't have.
They don't know shit.
Yeah, I was trying to look for a nicer way to say it. But
even like Dave doesn't know shit. Like Dave used to talk to people in the company, and he doesn't have connections. Like if I hear JCast said something, and then I hear everybody else saying something different, I'm gonna believe JCast just because it's like I actually know they talk to people in the company. You know?
Yeah.
If Trish and Sarah from our network says something, I know it's true.
Yeah.
But like if Sean Ross Sapp says
and it just comes
he's a great journalist.
Yeah. And I think it comes to also one of those things too, of just like, I get it. Once you reach a certain tier, most people are focused on the big two. If it really doesn't come about WWE or AEW, then like, people aren't as tapped in.
I don't talk to anybody in Japan. Like that's the deal.
Yeah. And but I think that also makes it even more like the people that do cover like those beats of Japanese wrestling, it even goes to like Mexican wrestling too. Like people swear they know what's happening. I'm just like, if Lucha Blog didn't say it, bro, I don't believe you. I just don't believe you.
If it's not Lucha Blog or Rob Viper, I'm not going to believe it.
Yeah. And that's just the truth of when it comes to, Japanese, Mexican wrestling, of there are people who are actually tapped in. And so when it comes to like sources for these type of information, is you might want to, follow them.
Yeah. We had lots of questions about this matchup here. First from Old Trev says, with how the Church are turning on the War Dogs, let's give us some small hope of a new faction to replace them as heels.
Yeah, I mean, maybe new faction. I don't know. Well, I guess there is time for maybe a new faction. It's just like who would be in it. I don't know. Who would you turn heel? The only thing that I could think of is maybe if they swerve and like turn show to heel, but I don't think that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to do the whole Bayface thing with him.
They're trying to make him sympathetic, but hey, listen, I mean, it could be cool. But yeah. I don't know. I'm sure somebody does have to like take that spot, especially with the entire War Dogs essentially baby faces now. I just don't know who it would be.
Yeah, it does open up a door to kind of push another heel act, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. If maybe, I mean, there's always Tai Chi. Maybe you split him off and turn him heel. Shingo, we're talking about LIJ breaking up. I mean, do you do a Shingo turn?
Make Tai Chi the leader.
I mean, you could.
Why not?
Yeah. There's a couple of options there.
Mox.
You said Mox? No.
I would much rather Mox in New Japan than AEW, but he has to be in Japan. Like, I'm going to be honest, New Japan strong shows don't work for him. I guess, like, He only really does his best work. He got to be on Japanese soil. I don't know if you feel it underneath his feet or something. I don't know what it is. But he does his best. He got to actually be in Japan. Like, that strong stuff ain't going to do for him. It just won't.
Barry Wall says, is Gabe the most over wrestler on the roster? He seemed to be more cheered than Tsuji.
Yes.
Yeah.
Possibly, but it's Osaka, so they usually are ahead of the curve.
I mean, but everywhere they've gone on this tour, though, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that there's anybody who's gotten who's really being received better.
Yeah.
Except for maybe like Tana.
And maybe Naito, but I mean,
is he about to be our Terry Funk?
I think so. I mean, every town he's getting cheered, and the crowd's behind him. So yeah, he's definitely one of them.
And in Osaka, he wasn't even just getting cheered, of just like people were like damn near about to jump out their seats for like they are rabid. And the only person who got a bigger pop was Goto. That's it. And that was in Osaka, just in Osaka. Every other city is typically just him at the top.
Yeah. Doc asks, also with those contract talks on Evil and him taking a way more direct approach, do you see him winning the cup and getting a real run by beating Goto?
Bro, this troll. I'm not even going to address that because this man is putting foolishness out there in the universe, and it's wishful thinking. I don't know if he's just trying to wind us up or if he genuinely believes that that's a possibility. And knowing Doc,
it could be either.
it could be either one of them. You don't know.
Yeah, we got our Evil New Japan Cup
we
run.
Bring Doc on here one of these times. It's gonna be that would be one of the wildest shows we would ever have.
Yeah, Evil needs to stay far away from New Japan Cup finals. He's been there, done that. We ain't doing that again. Acceptable AD865 says, what do you guys think the future looks like for Sonata, Jake Lee, and Ishimori? Do you think they stick with the War Dogs or jump to House of Torture? They feel like they don't really fit the War Dog mold and they feel better suited for House of Torture. I'm not sure how it could play out.
He's saying all the Japanese guys need to jump to House of Torture because they're not white? Is that they don't fit the aesthetic? I know what he's saying. That's code.
I will say though, I don't think that any faction in New Japan has done a good job of making the Japanese and foreign members of their stable feel well connected, except for TMDK. Like, I feel like they are the only stable where everybody feels like they feel like a faction. They've always, like Bullet Club, especially in these recent years when it felt like they just throw everybody in there of just, always felt disconnected across racial lines. Like it, and I'm not even sure if it's on purpose. It's probably just language barriers. You know, honestly, that's probably the biggest thing. But I don't think that they fit together. Like they just don't. Like they.
Yeah,
don't.
but here's the thing with that. There's no way they're gonna put Evil and Sonata back together, and there's no way in hell Taiji Ishimori and
Kanemaru
are going to coexist in the same group. Like, it's just not going to happen.
No, I do think that Jake Lee and Gabe had good chemistry, and so they might keep him. They'll probably keep him. He'll probably stay.
I hope he just doesn't come back.
Respectfully, I didn't want him signed to New Japan in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm just being realistic of just, I saw Jake Lee's Noah run. I knew what was going to happen. I tried to tell y'all. I watched his run from day one. Jake Lee trick y'all, man. He do
if he's not coming in with Kento Miyahara, I don't know why we signed him in the first place.
Right. That should have been a signing bonus,
Oh my God, guys. I still don't know because I don't know what they promised him. Jake Lee is very ambitious. And so like, he didn't come to New Japan to be a mid-carder. And I think that they know that. And so like before that injury, I was actually very terrified because I was like, guys, like he's going to find his way in some of these title pictures. And I guarantee you, if you think you're having fun now, the party's going to be over. The party's going to watch the party die.
That white belt's going to look real good around his waist come March, come May.
God, kill me now.
Don Taku, he takes the belt off Tsuji.
Bullet Club Day.
His GHC, bro, like his GHC run, like, oh my God. And then he's the type, he's going to find a way to start his own faction. You know what? He might become the leader of a faction at some point. I could see that. And it's going to be mid. Yeah, the Jake Lee thing, but I mean, Taiji Ishimori, would it be wrong to say that I would like him to kind of just do his own thing?
No, I mean, I do think he kind of fits the energy of War Dogs, but yeah, if he were to kind of break off and do his own thing, I think that's fine, or him and Robbie X kind of do their own thing as a junior tag team. But out of all the Japanese guys, I do feel like Ishimori does kind of fit that kind of vibe, at least the current vibe of War Dogs. With them now kind of turning face, I don't know how that really works out, because I don't feel like Ishimori's. I mean, I know he was a great face kind of back in the day, but I feel like his current character doesn't really work as a face. And Sonata just turned heel, so with the War Dog turning face, how does that work? So, I mean, there probably could be a heel turn and these guys jump to House of Torture.
Sonata he feels very House of Torture right now, but like you said, him and Evil, that's just more so the thing of Sonata. If he dyed his hair back black, shaved, and went back to the shiny coats, I think he'd look perfect with the face War Dogs. But
do we think that there's money in a LIJ, Naito, and Hiromu match versus House of Torture, Evil, and Sonata match?
Yes, I do.
I mean, for the LIJ sickos, of course.
I think that
for the Naito verse.
I think it's for the Naito verse, and I mean, fortunately for New Japan, that it still is a pretty sizable section of the audience. And one thing about it, unfortunately, Evil do got shooters. It sucks, but there are actual House of Torture fans, and there are even more so LIJ fans, LIJ purists who are be like, oh yeah, I would love to see that match. So yes, unfortunately, there is money in that. Now, will it be enjoyable?
The post match will be enjoyable after they take the belts, and Hiromu's on the, sitting in the middle of the ring, fucking screaming up into the heavens like he did that one time.
Evil's gonna like stab Daryl, and everybody's gonna just. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's really, like I said, when you push a guy against everybody's will as much as you've done Sonata, you're just gonna have to keep sticking him places because nothing is ever gonna feel natural.
True. Yeah. Last question here from Death Triangle 720 says, with how the Torture and War Dogs now feuding, how do you think it will play out?
Short and sweet, hopefully.
I imagine that this is going to be the culmination of the long-awaited, for the past 7 years,
Civil War.
Bullet Club Civil War that everyone wanted. There's been so many teases and versions of this that could have, should have, and would have occurred. Here it is. Hope y'all enjoy it.
And I feel like they'll do like winner gets to be the real Bullet Club, but honestly, War Dogs will win, and then they'll just like hopefully just retire it. Just retire it.
I hope not, because I own a Bullet Club shirt and I always want it to be relevant.
I'm gonna be honest. I just don't know how many more ways we can take it. How many more ways can we take Bullet Club in 2025?
We haven't tried Bullet Club Hollywood yet.
Oh,
they come back together at the end.
Yeah.
The reunion tour, the Eras tour, the Bullet Club Eras tour. Actually, you know what? And I kind of really hoped that they had done this for past year's Forbidden Door for the 10th anniversary, because I think that would have made sense this past year. But I do think like doing like a special Bullet Club anniversary Eras tour type match would have been cool. Like you have a lot of
Scott Norton in there.
No, but I think
El Terrible, Bullet Babe.
I think Jeff Jarrett would have been perfect, But
Scott D'Amore.
But
all
you
the best members.
You have so many leaders and former Bullet Club members at your disposal between current AEW and New Japan. I think like
Adam Cole.
I think that could have been really cool for the 10th anniversary. Kenny was out, but now that you have him back, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not trying to see Kenny Omega in a 6-man tag for Forbidden Door.
Carl Anderson's available.
Well, maybe we just don't have to do it.
It's a good theory, but let's.
You know what? You're right. I'm wrong. It's okay.
We can make a call, see if Triple H is willing to lend us Prince Valor or whatever is fucking.
The real Bullet Club leader is Cody. When can we get him?
Yeah, get Cody.
We get Cody.
Yeah, get Bullet Club WWE versus Bullet Club New Japan.
The club, the OC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Prince Devitt,
Cody, AJ, and Balor.
AJ and Balor.
And we could get a women's match. We could get Mia Yim versus Brandy Rhodes.
But those three guys have to fight Sonata. David Finlay.
You drove.
And no. Jake Lee. The real Bullet Club.
Can you imagine Luke Gallows versus Jake Lee in the year of 2025?
Inoki would resurrect from his grave and come out, stop that match, slap people in the face.
Inoki will hit that. He'll look like Suji did, look at the head like.
That's how you know you hit somebody hard, when you gotta look at your own hand like, damn, I did that. That was me. That was me.
Man. All right, y'all. We have one more match to talk about here. The main event, IWGP World Heavyweight Title. The G finally stands for Goto. Hirooki Goto defeats Zack Sabre Jr. in 20 minutes and 7 seconds to become the new champion.
I was so shocked that I didn't cry the first time I watched this. I know a lot of people said that they cried. I actually did not. I think I was just so. I went into it wanting him to win, but I was just like, okay, will they do it? Will they won't do it? By the second time, when I rewatched the match, I'm just sobbing. Like, I was like, oh my God, this was real. But this match was just so special. And for them to follow the last match and still have this type of energy and I think, one, it's a big credit to Osaka. They always deliver. But for them to be a hot crowd all night and be as hot as they were for that Global Heavyweight Championship match, but still save their best for the main event was just so special, so insane. I think that this was Zach's best performance since New Beginning in Osaka last year, to be quite honest. With the Bryan Danielson match, I feel like during his reign, it was kind of like the same criticism that I had for Ricochet when he first came to AEW. It's just like I felt like he was trying to like match his opponent's style and like prove that he could do what they do, like try to prove. But obviously he's at his best when he just does his thing. And I think Zach is the same way of, you don't have to try to be like the New Japan legends of past of what, the classic, New Japan main event style, or try to be somebody that you're not. Just be who you are. And him wrestling his style and essentially torturing Goto throughout this match and being the dream killer and consistently being so quick and always having a counter and never giving him a moment to breathe and doing this in 20 minutes too. And I think it made it feel absolutely relentless. Like he just never gave Goto a second to breathe. And this was fantastic. And like Goto it doesn't matter how many times he's lost, he makes you believe in him every single time. And this was the one time that it all paid off. Even like the post-match, like having Yoshihashi like belt him up at the end, especially like we talked about after Bishamon essentially being New Japan's crutch for like the last few years of just carrying the tag division. Like, so just seeing him finally become that singles world champion and then his kids come out, like this is one of those really special moments in wrestling that reminds you why you're a fan. The only thing that I could kind of even compare it to is like, Swerve versus Danielson and All In. Like you have, those moments are really rare where it just feels like, this is, if you want to define professional wrestling in one match, why it matters, why we love it, this is it. This could be it. Like this could be it. I could show this to anybody and it will make them, feel something. But this was just fantastic. And it was a return to the New Japan of old in the sense of having those, like you'll have the Intercontinental Championship and the world title legitimately competing with each other to be like the best match on the card, to legitimately like having like a 2 5-star matches back to back. It was a return to that. And it was with guys that are going to be around for the long haul, which made it even better.
Yeah. I think you sum things up very eloquently there, Lyric. I don't know. Like, I don't have a lot of words for this match in terms of like what it made me feel. In some ways, like kind of jokingly, I almost felt like Zach had more pressure on him than Goto did, because Goto has failed so many times that if he just failed again, it was like, well, I'm already the most failingest challenger that hasn't won the title ever in history. What's another loss for me? But like for Zach, it was like, I can't be the one dude that doesn't beat this guy when it comes to defending the world title. And that's exactly what ended up happening. The layout of the match was spectacular. Last week we talked about what would be the more prestigious versus the more gut-wrenching sort of heartfelt story and exciting thing. And, I kind of thought that they'd go status quo and just keep the title on Zach and make Goto the, contender of the month, the easy February title defense as we get ready for New Japan Cup and beyond. And they didn't go that way. They decided to do something that was a bit more daring, a bit more heartfelt and impactful. And I don't know, there's some people that after this match feel like not only is Goto gonna like get the flowers that he's deserving, but this isn't a gold watch for him, that he's going to carry the belt for an extended period of time. And then there's other people that are fully expecting for him to drop it next month or, the month after in very quick succession. And that's kind of the crux of the matter, is where that's the exciting thing about it. Nobody really knows what the long-term plans here are. And if, in fact, he does drop the belt in short succession, people are going to be disappointed by it. But sometimes, like, you have to have a setback in order to have a setup in pro wrestling. And he's the bait. Like Goto, we've been waiting for this for so long, and the moment was so important, and everybody can kind of find a little bit of themselves in what happened here. It's very much like Kofi Mania, very much like the first when Bryan Danielson won the title at WrestleMania 30. It's a lot like Mick Foley winning the title against The Rock and everything like that. It's the everyman overcoming the odds, Dusty Rhodes beating Ric Flair. It's that sort of thing where it's like you can see yourself in this person who was written off almost a decade ago after all this promise and everything like that. And to see him consistently fail. And like, I'll be honest, I gave up on Goto ever contending for the title, much less winning it. Like, that just seemed like an impossibility for me. And to see him overcome the odds, reinvigorate, he wasn't supposed to be here. Last year, when he kind of reinvigorated his career, like the rumor, and it seems to be so persistent to this point, it has to be true. The idea that he was never supposed to be in the New Japan Cup finals, that it only happened because David Finlay had some sort of health, emergency that it necessitated him being in that position, and for him to capitalize on the opportunity to make something of himself to where, like, he was like our number 3 rated wrestler of the year in 2024, which we're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, it's Goto, and to see him turn around and like, yeah, when he won the Rambo, I was like, well, the Rambo wasn't all that. Like, it was cool. Hopefully, I don't know, but like for them to turn that sort of meaningless, nothing Rambo win, kind of goofy early in the morning thing before the show actually started on January 4th, to carry that over and to build this into a fervor to where it drew and now people are connected to Goto, and he might be the most over babyface in the company. It's like, are we about to see Goto draw like consistently for a prolonged period of time? Like, I don't know what to think here, but the last thing I will say, what they've done beautifully with Zach is make you believe that Zach could win a match at any given time with any particular maneuver.
Yep.
And for him to put Goto in dangerous territory so many times with the Zach driver, multiple submission finishes, and then the crazy roll-ups that he does, it was like, even if you have criticisms about the business end of Zach's like run, they set it up in a way to where it was like at any moment you believed, this is the end of Goto right here. And like, it was like watching it live was like living on a tight wire rope where you're like, this dude's about to fall off and this is going to be it. And for him to like, you know what it reminded me of? Have you ever beaten a boss that you didn't think you could beat in a video game? And you had to like navigate. It was like beating Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's Punch Out. You're like, I shouldn't be beating this dude, but you know, you read all the tea leaves, you figure out all the cheat codes, and you fucking figure out this dude and you beat him. That's what Goto did. Like Goto navigated the murky waters and figured out the boss that was Zack Sabre Jr. and like beat him. And I don't know if it's gonna be for one night. I don't know if this is gonna be a year-long thing and we're gonna see him headline the Tokyo Dome, but like to see Goto achieve this dream and to bring his kids into the ring and the tears that he's crying and the tears that like Yoshihashi is crying, and then probably a lot of you at home, not me, I'm not a bitch, but the rest of you are all crying. I might have got a little musty. I don't know. But like it was special. It was really something.
Yeah, this match was it was so awesome, and I was rooting for Goto the whole match, but like you, Josh, I kind of felt like, oh, they're probably gonna go the safe, logical route and have Zach win. But when that Goto music hit and the way the crowd was reacting, like they were rabid for him. I'm like, if he loses, like this is good. They're gonna tear this building down, because the pop was that big, and throughout the match, like literally Zach pretty much got like no pop on the entrance, and anytime he was in control, the crowd did not like it. Anytime Goto fought back, they were cheering, and anytime Goto was down, they were chanting Goto, Goto. And you know, it was a Zach match where like he was just eating Goto up so much throughout every submission hold, 2 Zach drivers, like you mentioned, Josh, the European clutch, and he's just throwing everything out there. He's working over the right arm of Goto, which Goto uses for lariats and the GTR and the GTW. He's working over the arm, and there was that one point where he wraps them all up, and he has all the limbs, and you're just like, oh man, like Goto's cooked here. Like there's no way he's breaking through, and he just punches through somehow, gets to the ropes, and he just never stopped. And there's a point where he hit the Shouten Kai, his old finisher, and the crowd just lost their mind because they wanted him to beat him with that. And then he hits the GTW, he hits the GTR twice, and finally pins Zack Sabre Jr. And like it was just this awesome moment, and the way the crowd was like almost jumping the barricade to touch this man, to touch the belt, and like they were so happy. And people are trying to wonder, why was this show such a draw? I was like, I think Goto drew this house. Like this house was built on Goto, and I think it's very well deserved. A guy that's been, killing himself for years now, been always one of the best performers. And like you mentioned, Lyric came in, Yoshihashi, holding down the tag team division, and always being solid guys you can throw in the G1, the New Japan Cups, and other title pictures. And yeah, this was it's an epic, emotional moment. And yeah, the fact that Goto actually won, I was so happy because I was rooting for him the whole match. But then, yeah, it was just kind of biting my fingernails as Zach was doing all his wacky Zach stuff, and I'm just like, oh man, like he's gonna get it. But yeah, once he hit that last GTR, I was like, this is it. 1, 2, 3, and then, man, it's such a great moment. And like you mentioned,
I watched it spoiled, and he hit the GTR, and I was like, I had already told my wife, I was like, yeah, Goto wins the title. And she always has the joke when I say Goto, she's like, the Booker. I'm like, no, that's not him. That's Goto. That's a different dude. But I was like, oh, he hit the GTR. He's going to win. And she's like, you already know the finish. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. This is crazy.
I think that New Japan, it feels like, and I don't want to like, I don't want to jump in front of things because they could easily disappoint me. But I think that this year it feels like they're leaning more into the emotion of New Japan. And I think they set that standard starting with Wrestle Kingdom and Dynasty, starting with the Rambo. Like, we knew it was going to be big when they said that a world title shot was going to be on the line. And then when Goto wins, and like, it really kind of like just set the entire tone of the show. Then we have like, the Tanahashi Shibata moment. And then we'll have like the next day, we'll have like the actual 5-minute exhibition. Then we'll have like the Gabe and Omega stuff. And even like for New Beginning in Osaka, it's just so many of these heartfelt stories that really get to the emotions of New Japan fans, of really getting back to like, not just booking just to book or just to have matches on a card, but things that actually make people feel. And I think Goto has always been at the top of the list of people that can do that. And I think that in this midst of Tana and Naito being just in the physical stage that they are, there's a lot of lessons that I feel like need to be taught that only Goto is probably qualified to still teach a lot of the young generation. And so I hope that they really maximize this reign as long as they can. Of him putting over the next generation is going to be so meaningful. And, whoever that guy is, even if it is, Takeshita, even if it is like a Suji, like, it's going to be so much more meaningful coming from him after witnessing his climb to the top and knowing what he means to New Japan and what he means to New Japan fans. And like you said, Jeremy, I'm excited to see what these ticket sales look like, in the coming weeks and months. I don't think a lot of people envisioned that they'd be going to cards headlined by Hirooki Goto, as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And I think that they can really get a lot of mileage out of this. And the fact that it all happened off an accident is crazy. Like, we would be living in a completely different world if David Finlay wins the New Japan Cup. Like, we believe that, that he would. Like, everything is different. Like, who's to say that Goto isn't the one in the play-in tournament and doesn't make it into the G1 after that? Because do we even get here if we don't have those G1 matches and Korakuen Hall and he brings his kids out and like we start on this path of like, all of this is just snowball effect from like a freak accident. Like, that's insane to think about in retrospect. And it ends up being one of like the best attended shows that New Japan has had in a long time. And like, almost on pre-pandemic, attendance records of all of this because of something that wasn't even supposed to happen is insane. But now that you know that this is what people want, I feel like you got to keep it going. And I think Zach is going to be fine. I think he looked great and he looked excellent in this match. And it gives me hope that a potential second reign will probably be better. Like, I think this is who he needs to be. He needs to be aggressive, and he just needs to be himself when he's between those ropes and remind people of like, the excellent wrestler, that he truly is. But this is great. And I look at those last two matches specifically as a win for the identity of New Japan. I think that, and while a lot of companies are really struggling right now of who they want to be, and I think like, that's something that AEW is dealing with, I think New Japan has made it clear that I feel like they know who they are again. And a company that knows who they are can really go to new heights. Like, that's how you really accelerate. I think they've really cracked the code there.
Yeah, also too, I think another big thing, Goto's dad passing away last year and being able to dedicate the match to his dad and want to do it for his dad was another emotional layer there. So just yeah, just so many ways that it was so good, and just the happy accident was so great, and all the great stuff in the G1 building up to this was just a great way to play it out, and a great moment for fans and people being behind Hirooki Goto. So I know we have a bunch of questions here and some other stuff, but I know we're a little bit over our normal time limit here. So just for the sake of time and give Lyric some of her evening back, I think let's wind the show down here. Next week should be pretty light. There's no New Japan shows this coming up week, so we can come back next week, answer all these questions, talk
Who
about...
the fuck wants to hear about Fantastic Mania, you
know? We'll talk about the anniversary show lineup, the New Japan Cup, and yeah, we'll preview the first, I guess the only 2 nights of Fantastic Mania airing, and answer all these other questions. But Lyric, thank you so much for joining us. One more time, go ahead and get your plugs in. Tell people where they can find you online.
Well, thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I'm so excited to talk about this show and talk about it with you guys. You can find me at Lyric Wrestling on Twitter and Instagram, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Lyric Swinton.
Awesome. So yeah, go out, check out Lyric's work, follow her online. And that's going to wrap it up for us. Like I said, next week we'll be back to preview Fantastica Mania and cover anything we didn't cover this week. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, you can sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. You can also make a donation by visiting socialblogs.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI Strong Style, at SoSuplex, and at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/SoSuplex and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, also Keeping a Strong Style. On YouTube, we're at SoSuplex, and you can join our SoSuplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. Email me, Jeremy, at SoSuplex.com, and check out all the other shows that we have here on the SoSuplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Imps WWE Adventure with Implications Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Tone Talk with Allie and Leah, and the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we'll catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
The G in G1 stands for IWGP. Or the G in Goto stands for IWGP.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.